Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Marvel Mania. Tis I, Captain Logan. Joining me, as always, is my wonderful co-host and producer, DJ Martinez. Hello, DJ.
Hello, sir.
It is the penultimate episode of Marvel Mania, the second phase of Marvel Mania, a real bittersweet moment for DJ and I. We have been really enjoying doing the show and have both been lamenting to each other quite a bit lately about the soon-to-be end of the show. And, I mean, never fear, someday it will return, but we need more material before that can happen, and hopefully there are lots of things in the next wave of MCU things that we like a lot, DJ, and it'll be more of a potpourri, or at least a mixed bag, and not just a bunch of things that we're like, that was fine, or like really not liking a thing, because, I'm not overall as over the moon about the MCU as I once was, and I think there's been a bit of a decline, and there are some things on the horizon that I'm not sure about, and I'm hoping end up being great that I don't totally trust, of course. And so, and this is going to be kind of the beginning of that. I know for sure for DJ, I mean, a lot of people weren't super happy with Endgame. I had lots of criticisms of that movie, but enjoy it overall. DJ, of course, a lot of our channel friends don't like that movie at all.
Yeah, that is true. But I was thinking about this earlier today. When this phase started, I was like, oh, wow, this is all good stuff, like Logan, and then we went to Homecoming, and then... But this phase has been kind of more bad than good after it's all said and done.
Yeah, and I want to say more mediocre, but that's not true.
No, I mean, I don't think I can call... I mean, Venom is fun to laugh at, but it's pretty bad.
It's been some okay... It's been some good movies, some good solid or great movies, again, like you said, like with Logan, and then some just absolute travesties, if you're me.
Yeah, because we both didn't like Ragnarok. We weren't crazy about Ant-Man and the Wasp or Deadpool 2.
Captain Marvel. Captain Marvel was more on the mediocre side, right?
That's the one that's just like, it's right down the middle. But yeah, it's been kind of a world of extremes in this second phase, which I wasn't expecting when we went into it, because I knew, obviously, the first phase with Eric, you knew there was going to be a ton of doozies in that phase, but...
Yeah, especially because for anybody that didn't watch much of that or any of that first phase and isn't familiar with what we've been doing with this show, this is our 60th episode overall. I guess I've been on every one of these. My 60th episode of Marvel Mania, and it's kind of interesting that this whole thing is going to cap off with 61, DJ. I kind of wish this was the last one for this phase, but I didn't. Like you said, we talked about going ahead and capping it off and stopping after this, and then we went, well, it'd be really weird to hold over the last Fox X-Men movie to the third phase of our show. So, a couple 3 years down the road. So we're not going to do that. We're going to go ahead and do that in a couple weeks. It will be a sad place to end this, I think, because that's not a good movie. And for some people, that does fall more into the middle of the road mediocre category. I don't think it's just god awful, but it's kind of
I'm interested. I haven't seen it yet, but my hopes are not too high. Going in with
they probably should be. Now, are you going to watch it ahead of time, or are you going to blind watch it?
I am going to watch it ahead of time, just because I don't know what. I would be mute that whole commentary if I didn't watch it ahead of time, because I don't even know anything about New Mutants in general, much less trying to talk about a movie.
And that's not a property I'm super familiar with either, and I doubt that I'll have time to familiarize myself much before that happens. I may try to read a couple things here and there. I don't know yet, but anyway, so I was making some sort of a point. I don't remember what it was. Spider-Man Homecoming is our penultimate Phase 2 movie, and this is going to be kind of interesting because I was glad that we got something at least halfway decent to sandwich between Dark Phoenix and New Mutants, and it'll be interesting talking with DJ about this, because it didn't sound like DJ had the best last watch of this.
I did not. We'll get into it.
This is currently not streaming anywhere where you would have a streaming service, I don't think. Or is it on, like, I forget. Is there somebody's that's got it that...
I don't know. I watched my version.
Stars or something? I
had to crack this open for the first time.
Oh, yeah?
I hadn't even opened it yet.
I think I had pulled mine open and watched it once, maybe. I don't remember. By the way, I thought I had a commentary on this movie already, and I remembered doing a commentary, but it was apparently like phantom false memories, because I don't have a commentary on this movie. So this is gonna
Oh,
be
that's what
weird for
happened.
me because I feel like I'm just gonna be repeating myself. But I've never done I have done a lot of content on this. We actually did 2 spoiler casts, which is the only time we've ever done that because I went to
wow.
Boston and did one with Dan. Dan hadn't seen this movie yet. It was still in the theater
right.
when I went to Boston. This was in summer of 2019, and so he and I went to the theater and watched it together. And he wanted to do a video, so we actually did a second spoiler cast with Dan doing a lot of the talking. So I'm just having a lot of deja vu because I've already said my piece so much on this movie.
Everyone's making fun of you because you said Homecoming at one point, and they're like, Homecoming? I got the wrong disc in the player.
Oh, did I say Homecoming? Far From... Yeah, they have to put home in every title, and I'm bound to botch that up somewhere, so
Yeah, it's
glad
like
I got it.
calling all of your children by the wrong names.
Which I do all the time. By the way, don't ever name your kids with, like, the first letter at the start, but also not with, like, the same sound at the end. Because I'm good with Jason, but I got a Freddie and a Mikey, and I mix them up all the time. Because 2 syllables with a Y at the end. And then my twin girls are going to be Cassandra. They're going to be born in a couple 3 months. Cassandra and Selena, and they both have A's at the end. So, and they're going to look alike because they're twins. So I just know I'm going to screw that up all the time.
Yeah, that's gonna be crazy.
I just can't wait. Mr. Roboto $2 Super Chat. DJ, can you get in on Shang-Chi as a henchman?
I think they're already probably done shooting that at this point, so I don't think so, but
we're not gonna have... Yeah, for anybody that doesn't know, DJ was an extra in Spider-Man Homecoming. Not Far From Home. I'm actually talking about Homecoming now. So Far From Home, we will not have the same gimmick that we did with Homecoming because DJ was not on the set for this film.
I mean, I could try.
Nor did any of it shoot in Georgia.
That's true. I do not think so. I think all the... I don't know if they... maybe the stuff at the school at the very beginning.
Maybe some of it was shot in Georgia, but obviously the majority of it was shot overseas.
See if I recognize that school.
The Far From Home that's being referred to is Europe. Anyway, are you ready to get rolling?
I'm ready.
Get right into this. All right, everybody, please get your DVDs, Blu-rays, digital copy, Stars, Hulu, however you want to watch this. Somebody mentioned it was Stars. I was right about that. Stars and Hulu, if you have the special premiere package for that or whatever. I had a Stars account at one point, but I never used it. So get a timestamp 0 past all the menus and get ready to press play when I say now. We're gonna get right into it. Here it goes. Everybody, please press play right now. Spider-Man, Spider-Man.
Sony.
So if memory serves, the trailer for this movie used the traditional cartoon Spider-Man theme again, that classic theme.
Oh, wow.
But
Take your word for it.
But the actual movie did not.
It does not open with it, no. Austin was complaining about that in the Discord.
Yeah, I was disappointed myself. I was hoping that they would work it into the score some this time, and they didn't use it at all.
Yeah.
But kind of a cute thing with the Columbia logo. I imagined they were just out shooting and saw that statue. We're like, hey, that looks sort of like the Columbia logo. Let's film that.
Probably. These films are so, like, up in the air, like... This one, too, I watched the deleted scenes and stuff, and there's just a ton of jokes and, like, improv they shoot with the teachers, like just like the first one, which doesn't make it in, so I imagine that they were just kind of riffing with stuff like that. John Kelling, am I being moved yet?
Let me watch the movie first. Let me see the whole thing, and then I'll decide if I'm moved. I would be more okay if it was a question mark.
Be moved?
Or if it was just like, are you moved yet, or something like that. Maybe it wouldn't bother me quite as much as...
Are you moved?
As telling me to be moved. Making it a command.
Oh, look, it's Sandman always gone.
Well, that's going to be all of the holograms. Oh, look, it's... Oh, no, it's not. Even though they got pop figures called those names.
That's
yes,
ridiculous.
the hologram bad guys in this movie have pop figures.
Well...
And they're called, like, Hydro Man and... I don't know if Sandman was in there, but...
behind the scenes, John Watts is talking, and he's like, the Cyclone fans are gonna be so pumped. They're gonna be thrilled. He's their favorite villain. I'm like, no, they're not. They're gonna be mad that he's not even really Cyclone.
I'm not convinced there are those fans.
True, which I think he was joking, but still, it's
sure. But I mean,
weird.
there's people like Hydro Man, okay, and
Yeah.
so I have mixed feelings about this opening because on the one hand,
Wow.
I think it's really funny. And there's a lot of stuff with the kids, the high school humor and stuff that I don't find that funny with this movie. I love doing more of this like poorly edited video stuff. We talked about that with Homecoming. I thought that was a really amusing part of Homecoming. This is the kind of stuff that I saw in high school in the gym. They had the journalism department would put things together like this that just looked terrible. And it's funny because the technology's better now, but
Yeah,
I imagine
that's what
kids
I
still
was
don't
gonna
know what they're
say.
doing.
Well, I was gonna say, I think this is like how in Hollywood older people are the ones making the high school stuff, because that's what a video tribute would look like when I was in high school. That's not what kids do these days. Like the video editors do it themselves these days. Like it would look way better than that these days. It wouldn't have like the fade with like the Comic Sans font and stuff.
They wouldn't use something with a Getty Images watermark.
No, it would be the kids are much more tech
Okay,
savvy.
but I still think that's really funny. But where I say
Oh,
I'm mixed on it is I don't. A lot of people were kind of upset that that was the way we were handling the blip right after Endgame.
Yeah.
Instead of really getting into the aftermath and the really dramatic and messed up stuff about that, and really exploring what the status quo of this universe is like. And like I said, I'm mixed about it because on the one hand, I was really worried we'd never do any of that stuff, and now that we have some in the Disney Plus shows, at least. I'm I guess a little bit more okay with it because I was hoping that they would actually explore the culture with that, and we are doing that for better or worse now.
Yeah.
In other MCU things, so that's good. But I question the placement of this in general. When this came out, I said I wish we'd taken some time and this wasn't an epilogue movie. Having seen it, once it came out and we saw it. It didn't have enough to do with Endgame that it didn't even seem like we needed an epilogue thing. This shouldn't have been part of that phase. I wish story-wise it had happened before Endgame. But then you change the story, of course, because you don't have the the stuff with deceased Tony Stark. But I don't know. Like, do you feel like this was probably my worst viewing of this movie so far too in preparation for this, and I just found myself feeling like there were some ideas that were real hobbled together to try to get this movie out when we got it out, or that this was the next thing on the roster and they were trying to justify it.
Well, and these are the only movies in the MCU that we rush out. Well, excluding the second Iron Man, but we rush this out 2 years, like instead of taking our time like we do with the Captain America sequels and stuff like that.
And
so
I kind of feel,
it's a Sony
that
problem.
a little bit. Mutali says that Sony and Marvel had to release a film every 2 years. If I knew that, I'd forgotten about it.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot of problems with that deal, and Sony having to get their hands in everything, which is
whatever
unfortunate.
caused it, it still remains a bit of an issue for this as a piece, I think.
Yeah, just having a comedy in general after Endgame would have been weird. It doesn't matter who the character was. Because we've touched on the blip now, but I don't think it makes this stuff any better. It might be more easy to ignore because we have better stuff, but
well, that's fair. I mean, I guess I said that it becomes a problem for this as a piece, but also the MCU at large, if we had never dealt with that stuff. I mean, that was my big thing, was I was just worried that we would sweep it under the rug, and it was like, for the sake of Endgame, we're acting like there were big consequences, even though we brought everybody back to life, where they're trying to compromise with that and have their cake and eat it too. And then beyond it, we just won't deal with it. I'm glad that that world looks different than our world now. So, I mean, that's good. I also can kind of see the conventional wisdom of the thing right after Endgame needs to be a big tonal whiplash. It needs to be a totally different kind of thing. But if it takes place right after Endgame, I don't know, that's not necessarily the very next thing that that you want to look at if it has anything to do with that continuity. So I don't know. I'm real conflicted about it. And I think I'm more conflicted about it than I would have been if it didn't feel like kind of a what's the word I'm looking for? Just like a side story. Because I don't think we get enough done with Peter's character in this movie.
No, I don't like this as a side story. I don't like the Spider-Man being a part of the MCU is such a. It really messes up these movies, and you could never watch these as a trilogy. Like Spider-Man series is going to be so all over the place because so much has happened since the last movie. Like
that's been true of all of those, though. To be fair.
Yeah, well,
that's true of the Iron Man franchise as well, and it's numbered.
I guess I'm just used to Spider-Man being such a serial thing because we've had 2 other series that it's really weird for me with Spider-Man because he's in high school, and like the last time we saw him, he was all about Liz and like heartbroken about Liz, didn't even give MJ a second thought, and then all of a sudden at the beginning of this movie, he's like in love with her and he has this plan, and it's like, yeah, I can believe that because it's been a couple of years, so that could have absolutely happened, but I didn't see any of it happen, so it's just really jarring and weird.
And not just that, but also the big thing that most people complained about that happens off screen, which is Aunt May becoming okay with the fact that Peter is Spider-Man, and that's just like the new normal now.
Yeah, that's really weird. And John Watts talks about that on the behind the scenes too, and he doesn't really have any reason for it. He just says, I thought it'd be cool to do the opposite of the comics. He's like, because he's always worried to tell MJ, or his 80,000-year-old aunt, because she's going to keel over when she finds out.
And they do that stuff to a fault, right? Where they just err on the side of doing the opposite of whatever is popular and normal and recognized.
Yeah, which is not a reason. You got to actually have a story point, or it's just, it doesn't mean anything.
In their minds, it's a reason commercially, though. And the problem is that it just doesn't settle well in these stories, right? Like, it's the same reason, we've talked about this ad nauseum. I'm trying really hard not to go to places I just go to all the time, and it's impossible with this. We have not talked at all about the origin still, and that's clearly on purpose. They just don't want to. They just don't want to repeat. Sony doesn't want to repeat themselves, and Marvel doesn't want to repeat Sony. And so that's a place where I think those two companies are very much in line for kind of different reasons.
Yeah, but she's not just okay with it. She's like supporting him and like trying to get him to be a superhero.
Yeah. No, that's true. I mean, she's basically his Alfred at this point.
Yeah, she's one step away from the Aunt May for the blonde Peter in Spider-Verse.
So let's talk more specifically about stuff we're looking at right now. So Aunt May, I like this actress fine. And I just, like with last movie, kind of wish that she had a little bit more to do. That line she has about bananas, I like her line delivery. I think it's really funny. The way she's like, you can dodge bullets, but you can't dodge bananas. There's something about the way she says that. I think it's really funny. But the Peter Tingle thing I can't deal with. I don't like it. Why can't we just come out and say Spider Sense? Oh, I know, because we've used that in the Sony movies before, like the
I don't even think we have.
Or have we never said it?
I don't even think we have. Why can't he just come up with
No, we did in the first movie. The scientist lady says Spider Sense, yeah.
That's right.
But we didn't make a big deal out of it.
Oh, Toby.
It's that kind of thing where we just can't play anything straight, though.
But it's a comedy. You can play anything straight in this. Look at me. I have like some Flash Thompson hair. I'm growing my hair out with that. I look like Flash Thompson right now.
Yeah, I guess mine's a little bit longer than that. At this point, I'm closest to MJ, I think.
Yeah, mine's getting pretty long. You can't see because of the headphones, but I was actually surprised during this last watch that I liked Flash as much as I did.
Yeah.
Like, he was actually the saving grace for the comedy for me in this. Like, and I think that's because I know the actor a little bit more, just because he's been on, like, YouTube and some channels that I watch, and he's just, like, a cool guy.
No, I like what we do with him in this more than in the first movie. The biggest contrivance that I have a hard time accepting is that all of the principal kids all blipped so that they're all the same age and we don't have to recast any actors.
Yeah.
It's kind of that Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. thing, but like obviously in microcosm, where it's like, we would have made some different decisions if we had, with different projects, if we had known that S.H.I.E.L.D. was Hydra all along. And same thing with Thanos. Like, if we'd known what Thanos was going to do in Infinity War, we might have made some choices a little bit differently.
Yeah, well, and I guess they could have talked about it because there were two more kids in the first movie. There's the African kid and there's the Indian kid. Maybe there's an Asian kid, but there were two. This is the decathlon, right?
Yes, but it's a summer vacation thing, so I can live with certain people
some
not
people
being there.
Well, I mean, they could have just said that those two characters aged out because even if they were,
because they wouldn't be here anymore.
Yeah, they wouldn't be here. They'd be gone. So
yeah,
you could have just explained it away that easily.
And so we have one token kid that used to be 5 years younger than them, and now he's in their class. And you need more than that. It's ridiculous. And I mean, I think it would have played for really cool drama if somebody that he was close to, like Gank Ned Leeds or something, had still been around during the blip, but then you'd have to recast the actor, and I would hate that for the actor.
Yeah.
So it's hard to say how exactly you should handle that, but that's why this was maybe not the best project to do next.
Yeah, this starts the biggest problem I have with this movie. It's
but even if you don't do it as the very next movie, you're still stuck with that stuff. You still would have to do it whenever you did that movie. So that's maybe not a fair point, but
yeah. This whole thing on the airplane is like the beginning of this movie just having a bunch of dumb sitcom like scenarios that serve no purpose but just to have a dumb joke at the end. And that always bugs me.
I like the documentaries. There's one called Hailing Hydra.
Yeah, I should have paused it when I was watching. I didn't see that. Who's watching documentaries on? Actually, I say that I watched a game show documentary on a plane recently.
That's great. DJ didn't grow up with game shows, so he's probably looking at all these things and he's never seen any of these shows.
It was like Alex Trebek.
Oh, she votes for women. I didn't see it was on that T-shirt before.
Ah.
See, a lot of this comedy just doesn't play for me. I think that we're still like pretty believable about all of these kids at these ages and at this age and how they would respond to certain situations. I just don't find a lot of it super compelling. I'm fine with, for the most part, the way the MJ relationship is handled.
I can't wait till the Nick Fury scene. Your favorite.
Oh God, I want to leave the room when we get
I
there.
already hate the Nick Fury stuff already. Like the fact that we're playing him as a joke. And and
it's so retroactive when you find out it wasn't Nick Fury the whole time that it's Talos. It doesn't work at all. It's awful.
Well, I'm convinced the actors don't know that except for obviously
they can't.
Sam Jackson, but they're talking about it like the actress who plays Sam Jackson and Colby Smulders in the behind the scenes are just talking about like their characters. Like, yeah, they're so close. She's the only one that calls him Nick, and they're like it's not even you guys. Like they don't even know.
Well, I haven't looked at any of the behind-the-scenes stuff on this movie, or not much, but I don't know that I would be surprised to find that choice wasn't made after the fact. That they didn't shoot the whole movie thinking it was Nick Fury.
That's what I'm thinking. And then they just called Sam Jackson back to shoot that little end thing.
I like the way the airport handles his outfit. I like that he is paranoid and naive about it, where he thinks that she'll think he's Spider-Man. And you're like, well, yeah, you live in a world where people can make costumes like that, and cosplay is big, and like, it wouldn't surprise anybody that you had a Spider-Man costume. Like, I like that.
But the banana.
You can't have bananas, which he can't dodge. He's incapable of dodging bananas. Yeah, my least favorite stuff in this is where it just feels like this self-indulgent travelogue. It just feels like you're watching somebody's home videos.
Yeah,
part of this until we get to the Mysterio stuff.
And that's what
maybe some of this is fun for other people, and it's just not my bag. But I guess it's just I I don't mind the stuff on first viewing, but when I find out that we don't go any farther than we do with Peter, I find myself so much more impatient. And the biggest reveals and like most important stuff for the potential character progression all happens kind of outside of the main story, right? It's all after credit stuff. Like the biggest status quo change is everybody knows he's Peter Parker, and you don't even know if that's going to stick or not be just, hand waved away in the first 5 minutes of the next movie, which a lot of people think is likely to happen.
Yeah. The actors talk about this when they're just so excited that they shoot in all these crazy European places. Like Jake Gyllenhaal said, that's the reason why he accepted. He's like, I don't even need a script to read the script. You're shooting in Prague and London. I'm there. So like, that's probably where all the self-indulgent stuff is coming in.
The movie has that attitude
there,
where they're just all on vacation shooting a movie, and that's not the right. That's not right for a thing like this.
Yeah.
Where it's the next thing that you put out after your huge epic.
Oh, that camera's so expensive.
And like, it was obvious where that was going.
Yeah.
It's just not funny. Like, and
yeah,
again, I don't mean to complain about this too much. I don't mind a little bit of this, just in like establishing that Peter's having a good time and where his priorities are and what he's really there to do, which is to ask Mary Jane out. I like the scene where he gets the black necklace. Like, I like that the problem is we're trying to balance the like early Stan Lee Peter is trying to be a human being while also having to be Spider-Man and not wanting to, that responsibility stuff. We're trying to balance that with the like more modern comic book stuff, and I think they found that balance pretty well in Homecoming, and I think it errs too much on the side of just the mundane human stuff in this movie. And it also makes it feel more like an episode of a TV show.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like the episode, the Europe episode, like the one where the friends go to London.
Yeah.
It's like that episode.
But story-wise, what it feels more to me like, it's just, like I said earlier, we're not getting enough done, and the reason that's a problem is twofold. One, we're not able to put these out often enough to do these like little kind of side adventures where you don't have you're not getting much farther with where Peter is in his maturity, and you don't have a villain that's I don't mean to say that this story needs to be like a huge epic story, that the stakes have to be that much bigger, but I love a villain that's more personal again. I guess he's sort of personal with the Tony Stark stuff, but like, I don't know, I found Vulture more compelling, and I like everything about what Gyllenhaal does with Mysterio in this, and I like some things even about the plot.
The performance is great. I have no qualms.
I even like some things about the plot and stuff, but it feels like a second episode of a TV show. And so then the second reason it's a problem is because you don't know how long necessarily Marvel and Sony are going to hang on to the license together. And this movie came out, if memory serves, before we had that scare where we thought they'd lost the license, where this would have been the last thing we had.
That would have been sad. Although I don't know what Spider-Man 3 is going to be like.
Blue Dragon 5, there's fake Hydra Man. One of the things that it makes it a little bit difficult for me to suspend my disbelief is I don't know if drones are enough of an explanation for
they're not at all.
For people buying the damage that water is causing.
Or why is Peter getting soaking wet? What are the drones doing?
Yeah. And it looks like the whole city's getting wet. Yeah, what are the drones doing right now? Like, when you watch this on a first viewing, you might not think of that. And when you see it again and you know what is causing the destruction, you're like, well, no, wait a minute.
Well, and it's stupid because you don't need to make anything up. Like, that's what Mysterio does. He just has... It doesn't make sense, but he just has holograms, and somehow they actually, like, destroy things. But making it drones with guns doing everything is... Trying to make it realistic actually makes it worse.
I would make the argument that you have to do something in as grounded as the MCU is, that you can't get away with just comic book Mysterio making illusions, because immediately we would be questioning, okay, what are the stakes? Like, did anybody? Because the whole thing is, like I sympathize with their conundrum and how to put this together and make him old school Mysterio, and I really appreciate that if you're gonna do Mysterio, you went back and you tried to do like really early old school Mysterio like this. I applaud them for trying this. I just don't know that it fully works, because if it's just holograms, then nobody's really in danger.
Yeah, which would make Quentin Beck a little more sympathetic. Which in the '90s show he actually does that. Like the building is falling on Peter, and then he goes and then it's just nothing.
Yeah.
But he does use explosions like on the bridge and stuff in that episode, so he could still be like using explosions. But yeah, the fact that we go with the elementals makes it a little harder to buy that it's just drones.
No, you're right. You would just have to.
You'd have to shoot the action differently.
You'd have to come up with a totally different like fake backstory and stuff.
Yeah.
But you're right. You might be able to make that work. It's just I don't know if you could hold on to the ruse for very long. I don't know if Mysterio's built for a 2-hour film, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, a lot of
he could be found out in the middle of the movie, and then you could tell a different story the rest of the time. Like there's other stuff you could do with it, but to tell the story they're telling with him, I think I think it works as well as it's going to, with the whole drone thing. I don't understand what Peter thinks he's doing against a water monster.
Yeah, what do you...
Like, can you explain this to me? Like, I just... Maybe it's clear to somebody and I just don't understand it, but, like, he just webs up a tower and just, like, spins around it a few times, and I don't know what he's doing.
Yeah, there was someone on the Blu-ray...
Is he just trying to save it?
He's trying to save the tower, but then it falls anyway.
Okay.
And that's not funny at all.
Steve Murphy, you can kind of compare his scheme to the fake Mandarin idea. Yeah, that's true. But the Mandarin thing was kind of more believable, because at least he's not, you can have like somebody else kill people and then say this guy did it, but in this case here's these huge like monsters that are attacking cities that aren't actually attacking cities. How do you keep that up for any amount of time? But I mean, I like his showmanship. I like that he looks at it like art to some degree. I like that he ends up like really respecting Peter and wishing he didn't have to get hurt. I like the kind of old school 60s comic villain he is, where like he does sympathize with the hero to some degree, but he is two-dimensional and mustache twirling enough to where that's not gonna stop him. He's still just bad and wants what he wants, and like we know how he got there and why he's that way to some degree. So he's not, a one-dimensional villain, but like, yeah, I like everything about Mysterio.
I like everything about it except the fact that they try to play it as a twist.
What do you mean?
Like, that was, I don't know. That's like it's like the least surprising twist of all time. From the second he showed up in the opening crawl, I was like, oh yeah, that's Mysterio. He's doing illusions. He's doing Mysterio things. I didn't think that was an actual sand monster.
I don't agree with you on that. Let me just say, I figured it was probably going to turn out to be illusions, but I thought that there was this like 20% chance that they were going some other direction with it. And we had the whole multiverse thing from the trailers, and everybody just assumed that was actually real and that we were dealing with a Mysterio from another dimension. So I didn't see it as definitely obvious from the beginning. When it happened, I wasn't surprised, but I thought the reveal played nicely. And people that aren't in the know and familiar with that character, and let's face it, that was most people before this movie came out, I think that does play nicely.
Okay, I didn't watch any of the trailers, so I didn't know about any of that, but I would think that, because like with the Mandarin thing, there was a red herring. Like, there was a Mandarin. Yeah, Killian turned out to be the Mandarin, but there's no other villain. Like, people who don't know anything about Spider-Man, they see Mysterio on the poster. I mean, I would think that they would just think he's the villain. I don't know why Like, what would the story be? It's just going to be these monster things? I don't know.
But you could say the same thing about Mandarin with Iron Man 3, which is also part of why people were kind of disappointed with it, where it turned out it was just this guy we'd had all along. Like, it could have been something like that.
Yeah, but it was surprising. No one saw that coming. That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't know how you could. There just wasn't another villain on the posters, or like, there wasn't anything to buy
But again,
into.
with Iron Man 3, there wasn't either. Like, they sold that whole thing on the Mandarin. There wasn't another villain on the posters.
Well, Killian was on all the. Killian
Was
was
he?
always there. Yeah, that's what was weird.
I
about
didn't
it.
remember. Okay, but nobody's paying attention to that guy. But I'm
Yeah.
just saying that there is a red herring in the sense that we're told there are these monsters from another dimension.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
And
is
if
the
you buy
Mandarin
that,
red-
then you're just dealing with these monster things. And yeah, I get what you're saying. Like, those aren't characters; they're just creatures. But and I'm just saying, like, inside the movie, like whatever they put on posters and stuff. But like, if you're just watching the film, you might be thinking, okay, we're gonna find out at some point, like, who is behind all of this. Like, there's gonna be like a bad guy behind the elementals, or one of the elementals will turn out to have a personality and like Power Rangers shrink down and is like person size and starts talking or something.
That would be amazing.
Again, I'm not saying that it completely got me. I assumed Mysterio would in some way turn out to be at least a bad guy, but they made me question it a little bit. They made me think that they might be going some other direction with it, especially because Jake Gyllenhaal is just so likable.
Yeah, and like I said, I didn't look at any of the trailers, so I didn't know they were doing the multiverse ahead of time, and I don't do like the speculation game, so I can see how if you're thinking about that ahead of time, it's a lot. You can build up a lot more of a chance that could happen.
Sure, but I'm also saying that I'm saying that if you looked at it ahead of time, you might have thought that there was a chance that was going on. But also, if you didn't know anything about Spider-Man and Mysterio, you also might buy that.
Yeah.
So once again, this has got to just be Nick Fury all the way through until they suddenly tell us that it's Talos at the end. And he seems like, especially because he seems particularly irritated about even having to deal with Spider-Man, he has an even worse attitude than he usually has. And you could say, oh, that's Talos, like, just not getting Nick Fury's character, or putting on, like, too much of an air, like caking it on too hard or whatever.
Yeah. He just knows that Nick Fury's grouchy, so he's just trying to act super grouchy, but that just seems so that seems like something you have to put on it after the fact once you know it's Talos.
It's so retroactive. And, yeah, this gag is not funny, and I'm really tired of this kind of thing in MCU movies, and this is the most egregious example of it, where people just keep interrupting them, and, like, it feels like a Saturday Night Live sketch right now.
And I just don't see Nick Fury putting up with any of this stuff. Like, why would he just grab Peter and take him out of the...
Because he's Talos.
Like, why didn't he just immediately grab him and take him outside? Instead of sitting there while everyone comes in and interrupts him.
That's the thing, is I couldn't decide if the movie wanted me to think he was acting out of character or not.
Well, I think he is, but I think it's just because this is a comedy. So he's a little more...
That's what I'm saying,
goofy.
is am I supposed to be guessing that this isn't Nick Fury the whole time? Or is he out of character somewhat because... Or they're just going too far because it's a comedy, and then retroactively they go, it's Talos, and that'll explain anything that seemed off.
I think that's what it is.
I really don't know. Cinematographic says this whole movie is a Saturday Night Live sketch. I don't go that far.
I'm glad I was worried that everyone was going to just like rake me over the coals in the chat. I'm glad there's some other people that are with me on this one.
And yes, Blue Dragon 5, I don't want no scrolls.
No scrolls.
I do think it's really interesting that we've introduced the multiverse idea and waved it off as ridiculous, and then the very next thing they're going to do in MCU is multiverse.
I do like that little Flash thing where he's reading on the internet that someone on BuzzFeed has made up an origin for the Hydro Man. If you're not going to put Hydro Man in this, that's kind of a funny thing to do. Because that's totally what would happen. Immediately, Reddit would be swarming with like, oh, I know he's my wife's second cousin's uncle, and he's got hit by hydro rays.
I also think that this is a half-decent way to get Mysterio's name in here. I don't think it's irritating and forced in like a lot of those
Oh,
things
that's
are
cool.
in superhero movies, where it's just somebody not knowing Italian and going, oh, apparently his name is Mysterio. I saw it in the subtitles on the TV.
Well,
And
and kids
and then
would run with
Gyllenhaal
that.
just decides he likes that name, or Beck, and so he just runs with it after that. And I like that his name, that a lot of the reason that Beck takes Mysterio is just to continue to try to make Peter think that he's his friend.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
good.
That's what it is. He's trying to make him think he's cool, win his confidence.
It's just a trust gainer.
Yeah, it's really cool. I like how they handle the name. Like I said, I like everything with Mysterio. Jake Gyllenhaal's doing a lot of cool stuff.
But yeah, the scene later when we find out that what DJ apparently knew all along, that Beck must be making all of this up.
It's not that I was a smarty pants and like I know what's gonna happen. I didn't even know like I just zoned out during this part. I was like I wasn't even. I was like, oh, he's like lying to them. He's the bad guy. So I wasn't even like thinking of it as a twist. But then when they play that scene, like the big da, I was like, oh.
Do you think it would play better if it was just a twist for Peter, if we never went to the bad guys? Like, is that what we should have done? Is the problem
Yeah.
POV?
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Because what I'm
But he
saying is,
kind of-
it
he
would be a
figures it
surprise
out.
to
He
Peter.
figures it
It
out.
would be a twist for him.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And I can totally get in his head. But it's also that thing where you don't want to know too much more than your protagonist, you know? Because it's... And we do that anyway, because we find out before Peter does. Peter
Well,
finds
that's
out later with
interesting. I had
MJ.
not heard that. Blue Dragon 5 says there's a lot of speculation that Dimitri may be the Chameleon. And he says, wonder if MCU Chameleon could be a rogue Skrull. I would love it if the Chameleon was not related to the Skrulls at all. And I wouldn't mind him being involved in a Skrull story somehow to do a parallel with it, but I would rather it not actually be a Skrull.
Well, and we already have that technology from Winter Soldier that the Chameleon could just get his hands on.
Hey, that's a good point.
But that's another Spider-Man villain who has a bone to pick with other superheroes.
That's true, but at least it's not Stark Tag.
Yeah,
Or is
he's
it
mad
Stark
at
Tag?
that.
I don't think Tony Stark made that.
No, Black Widow uses it.
No, I
he's
know,
mad
but
at-
what I'm saying is who made it.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because it just comes from S.H.I.E.L.D., I think.
I figured it was a Shield thing. Yeah. So who's Dimitri? Is he? I just don't
Dimitri's the Russian guy that drives the bus later. That's
That guy right
working
there?
for
Yeah, that's what I thought when he was walking out.
that's
That'd be cool.
That's
the thing about
Fury
this.
gets to, or Talos's Fury forces Peter to get to go to Prague using Dimitri.
That's another disappointing thing about this movie is, and it's kind of, it has to happen because we go all the way to the other side of the world, but like the Homecoming was so good at setting up the world and all the characters, and like we set up all these villains that we didn't need, but it was cool to have them there. And then this is just nobody. It's just Mysterio.
Yeah, and I didn't have this thought on first viewing, but the more I watch this movie, one of the things that I find really counterintuitive about it is it seems like it's supposed to be a big novelty that Peter isn't in New York and doing the friendly neighborhood thing, even though he didn't do a lot of that in his first movie even, and then he goes to space, and then he dies, and he comes back 5 years later, and now this is supposed to be novel. Like, this movie's called Far From Home, but he's now been way farther from home. Like Europe is whatever. He's been to space. And then in the movie, we acknowledge that with the Talos/Nick Fury line, B word, please, you've been to space. And I'm like, something is very odd about the way this movie came together.
Well, yeah, and
The more I thought about it.
And that's why you can't watch these as a series at all, because Homecoming is all about how he needs to stop being an Avenger and be the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, and the next movie's all about the complete opposite, just because of where it falls in the MCU. And we had the two Avengers.
Yeah, and
giant
Tony's
Avengers.
dead now, and there
Between
aren't
them.
a lot of superheroes left on the planet. And so there's
Yeah.
there's this big question in this movie of whether he has a responsibility to be an Avenger because of his abilities. So it's not even does he have a responsibility to be a superhero, it's does he have a responsibility to be Tony Stark or to try to be. And the end of this isn't you're not mature enough to be Tony Stark like I thought it, because it looks like that's the direction it's going for a little bit. And I mean it kind of is. I mean he gives it to Beck and that's a mistake and everything, but then he cleans that up at the end. I don't think the idea is he's too young to be Tony Stark and Tony Stark gave him those glasses to give to someone else. I think Tony really did give him those glasses to use himself and was saying that you're more mature than you think you are and you just have maybe some more like streetwiseness to gain, but like he's not. I don't think the movie thinks that he is as immature and selfish as he is in the first movie, because this scene is just a joke. Like him like trying to shoot like accidentally almost killing a guy with the Stark tag.
This is horrible.
That horrible scene.
It starts here.
All right.
This is what I
guess that's later, but yeah.
The horrible setups that are just like sitcom like stupid situations just to end in a joke. Like he tells him to go into this room and the woman starts telling him to take his pants off and put on this suit for no reason, because as soon as the kid walks in and takes a picture of him, he just leaves and it doesn't matter. Like he didn't have to put his suit on right there. It's only there so he could come in and see her with him.
Yep.
It's the goofiest scene.
No, you're right. It's all really sitcom-y. And it's not gelling well with the comic book stuff. Fury later will say, you like what was the first thing that you did with that technology? So they're trying to make that part of his character arc, but I'm not seeing that anymore at the end with the scene with him and Happy, where like he's made all these mistakes and Happy's saying, yeah, Tony was all over the place. He did a lot of stupid, immature stuff too, and you're not Iron Man, and you can't live up to Iron Man, and neither could Tony. But I think the movie is kind of saying that he's still the next best thing to Iron Man. Am I wrong about that?
No,
especially when he starts like doing the Tony Stark thing, and he's picking his suit, and then Happy's looking at him like, oh, I'm having flashes to Tony, and
yeah.
I don't know. I don't think the point is at the end of the day, even though it looks like it's going there, is you're too immature to be an Avenger. It's that like you're just different than Tony, and everybody has to learn on the job doing this job. So I'm just saying that for better or worse, whether you like this or not, this movie is kind of about Peter having to learn to be an Avenger, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Am I wrong?
No, I think that's what the movie's saying. I'm with you. I just can't get over how stupid this scene is. I'm just like he just leaves that. Why did he need to try the suit on right there? There's no reason for that. Everyone was just going to the bathroom. It was like a 10-minute break. Like she knew he didn't have time to do that. I don't know what that scene was even about.
We talked about this in another video recently. I forget where, but I forgot just how far back these glasses go. Like, in the theater, I thought they were introduced here, but they go all the way back to, I think, Civil War?
Yeah.
Maybe a movie after that? I can't remember, but they've been around a while.
But to talk about what you were saying with him being Iron Man, I think the movie has this weird attitude about it where everyone in the film acts like they've been watching like they're us and they've been watching the films and they know that Iron Man is his mentor. Like,
oh, interesting.
There's a scene at the beginning where they're like, "So are you going to be the next Iron Man?" And there's also the scene in that little fight scene in the beginning that got cut out of the film where the cop's like, "So are you going to be the next Iron Man?" Like, why did they think he's going to be the next Iron Man? They don't know that Iron Man chose him or that he's his mentor, that they gave him his glasses. Like, nobody knows that. Why is everyone assuming he's going to be the next Iron Man?
Because it's his movie, because the name of the title. Maybe they saw him fighting with Iron Man that one time. John Kelling, Peter just needed an instruction manual for the stupid glasses.
Yeah, why did Tony think he was going to be able to, that this was a good idea to give to a 15-year-old?
And not have, like, kind of training protocols like he did with the suit in the first place. At the very least, there should be, like, a trial period, and that wouldn't say that he doesn't trust him. That would say these are really super powerful, and if you don't understand how they work, this could happen. Now, I will say Peter's an idiot for saying yes, he's a target. What does he think is going to happen? Yeah, Brad's a target.
Well, I don't know. Maybe
Okay.
Maybe he would think what we would think, and that Tony Stark wouldn't give him like space missiles to shoot people from his glasses.
That too, but why would you ever call a human being a target? I just don't understand why he agrees to that.
I don't know.
And it's
And the way we solve it is look at the mountain goats.
This is the worst movie, or the worst movie. This is the worst scene in this
Oh,
movie.
you heard it, guys.
No. Overall, I like this movie more than DJ does. Clearly, somebody earlier was complaining at us doing nothing but complaining. I had a not good viewing of this last time, and DJ's in a place where he's not liking this movie. So I just have like more observations that are negative, I guess, that I've had before as I'm looking at this, and my feelings on this movie are evolving a little bit, but also I've said everything, like all the accolades I have to give this movie, I've given it 1,000 times. Like, I've talked a lot about this movie, and I'm kind of let DJ take the lead a little bit because I've talked so much on this movie. So,
and the Manias are always based on the last viewing we had.
Yeah,
just
of
like
course.
So this was a movie that I enjoyed well enough in the theater, but as I talked about it afterwards with people and as I thought about it more, I liked it less. And I was hoping at going back in this viewing with different expectations that I would like it more, but I think I liked it less the second time. And this is only the second time. Well, this is the third time, but I've only seen this movie twice.
Since the theater, I've just gotten more frustrated about the fact that we're not, like I said earlier, that we don't get these often enough to have like a simple one-off like this that seems like an almost skippable story, except for the big reveal that happens in after credits and the fact that he and his girlfriend get together. That's kind of the major stuff in this. I don't know how much this character arc is even going to really inform him moving forward. Maybe it will. I mean, I guess we'll just have to see. But if we're going to do these kinds of stories, this needs to be a TV show. This needs to come out more often, because we still have a high school Peter Parker. And he's not going to be able to play high school forever. So, like, when you do this kind of thing, the movies have to be where the big events happen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, especially with Spider-Man. Like, open it with these movies like to open with a little joke montage thing. Both of them start with the montage of him fighting some Spider-Man villains.
So we Mr. Bono chat. Maybe the cop was a Skrull. What cop are we talking about?
I think he's talking about the cop that asked him if he was going to be the next Iron Man. Oh. I don't know how being a Skrull would solve that.
We can solve everything with that guy's a Skrull.
Yeah, just make it a Skrull.
Something else we didn't mention when we were in that scene that I've always been kind of perplexed by and bewildered by is that line that Fury/Talos has about Captain Marvel. Really, everything about that moment is really strange and off. Where he's like, "Don't invoke her name," and I've always wondered if that's supposed to be a hint that he's Talos, but I don't know why her name. Excuse me. I don't know why Talos would say that either.
No, it would make more sense that Fury would say that because they have like a connection and he calls on her and stuff.
It's still a weird line any way you slice it. I don't like. She's not a god. I don't understand that. And then also there's just the fact that suddenly she has a name that's we've never called her Captain Marvel before.
Oh, that's true. See, Marvel just waits to say long enough to use the terms that you forget if they've used them or not, and then they can just start using them.
Yeah, it's like everybody on the outside looking in knows her name is Captain Marvel. That's the name of her movie. So we just finally sneak it in a not Captain Marvel movie. Unless there's a place where we get it and I don't remember it. Somebody tell us in the comments if there's a place, if it's in Endgame or something, but I don't think it is. And
they do the best they can with this. I don't know. I'm of two minds about it. Like, he's super charming and he's super friendly and like they get along well, but they only have like 2 scenes together. There's a bug in my screen.
This is a really well written scene.
It's a great scene.
And
but
I
don't
buy
know
the way
if it's
he's
enough
manipulated too. By the way, he's a good manipulator. That whole thing's good. The scene in the bar is really good.
But I don't know why he would give him. Would he give him the glasses even with this good scene? Like, he knows all the Avengers. Why would he not just give it to one of them? This guy's from another dimension, he thinks. Does he think he's going to stay here?
Oh, I never thought of that.
Like, why would he not just give it to Bruce Banner or something, or like anyone?
That's a really good point. Yeah. Well, no. Actually, no. I'm not with you on that because he claims his dimension, his world was destroyed, so he has nowhere to go.
Oh, so he's going to stay.
And Fury is talking about him like he might make him an Avenger.
Oh, okay. I guess Peter doesn't know the Avengers that well. He just kind of met them all briefly. And
nobody's left on Earth. Like, there's nobody to give it to right now.
Well, Bruce Banner's still around, right?
I don't know what Bruce Banner is doing at this point.
Smart Hulk. He's just...
I mean, I guess there's that, but also practically it just wouldn't fit on his head.
He doesn't... He's Bruce Banner. He doesn't have to use them as glasses. He can take the technology and use it some other way. I love this guy. He's from Curb Your Enthusiasm. It's a HBO show.
Yeah.
And I hadn't seen that show when I first watched this, and this last watch, my wife had been watching through Curb, and I was like, oh, it's the guy.
Adam March, how well does Peter really know the other heroes? Jedi Knight, does Peter have any way to contact them? Blue Dragon 5, the Avengers are kind of disbanded after Endgame. I agree with all of that. I agree that there's not necessarily anybody he would immediately run to and give the glasses to, even if he thought that Tony didn't intend for him to keep them. But I also agree with DJ that as naive as I buy this character being in high school, I also think that he's lived enough now, especially with, and I realize everybody died, but like the situation surrounding that with like going to space and trying to fight Thanos and all of that stuff and everything he learned in the previous movie, if you played him as the most like grown up high school, he's like 16 but going on 35 kind of character at this point, I would also buy that. You know? Yeah. And so I don't know if I buy that he is naive enough that he gives Beck the glasses after fighting alongside him twice.
Yeah, it's pretty quick.
Mr. Roboto, why not give them to Hawkeye? Well, Hawkeye is kind of a rogue agent guy that everybody's supposed to be scared of because he's...
he has a mohawk now, guys.
Because he goes off and can't
be trusted.
And kills people, even though that was still sort of his job before.
Is that like the...
I'm really with you on that whole thing with Hawkeye, by the way. I'm like, wait a minute. Is that really that far outside of what he used to do?
I forgot I made that point.
He's not... I think it was you that said that. He's not... It's not like he's an assassin now.
He's just killing bad guys. Do we do that now? Is that like we don't say one F word in every Marvel movie, but we're going to do the finger in every Marvel movie?
That's
or at least
the
we'll comedies.
That's fair. I forgot that was in there. So now we've got like a stealth Spider-Man suit.
Which I think is hilarious because it's
a little bit noirish. I think everybody compared it to that.
I like how... I mean, it looks like a S.H.I.E.L.D. thing, but I think it's hilarious that he's like... The whole point of the suit is because Spider-Man can't be seen in another country, but they give him Spider-Man eyes.
So we still made it look like a Spider-Man suit?
It looks just like Spider-Man. And the first character who's 16 sees him and says, hey, you think that's
Spider-Man? And, like, who designed it? Did Talos design it? Like...
Well, yeah, if they didn't do the eyes, I could buy that it was just S.H.I.E.L.D. clothing, because it looks just like a ski mask with some black clothes, but they put the Spider-Man eyes on it. Which I understand, you gotta sell toys. It has to look like Spider-Man. But the whole point of it is to not look like Spider-Man.
And yeah, I don't really have an opinion about the whole Night Monkey thing. I think the movie thinks that's funnier than I do, but
I think that's a very appropriate name for someone on the spot trying to come up with something to call a Spider-Man-like character without using spider.
yeah, fair enough.
I think Knight, because it's black and he's jumping around like a monkey, is what a high school kid would call him. That's like one of the most genuine line readings that the actor playing Ned, I think, has ever given, was when he says Night Monkey. It seems totally like what he would actually say.
At least here I can kind of see how Spider-Man can sort of fight this creature. Because he uses a fire hydrant. How do you feel about the integration of the CG with these hologram creatures? Because I feel like it looks like they ought to, if they're holograms, but then I can't decide if the movie is going like this is not supposed to look fully realistic because they're holograms, or the CG is not quite up to snuff.
Well, and that's the perfect out they have, is like they can always say, well, it's a hologram, so shut up.
And like the people standing there buy it because that technology seems impossible. Although in this world it wouldn't, with stuff that Tony Stark's able to do.
Well, if I saw a giant lava monster coming at me that close, I wouldn't care if it looked slightly unrealistic.
You probably would be thinking, this is not very well integrated with reality.
No, I would be screaming for my life. That'd be horrifying.
You want to do some super chats? Because we haven't done any of those yet tonight, hardly.
Yeah, this is just an action scene. We can talk over this. So, $5.
Don't get me wrong. Some of this action is pretty cool. I mean, I like the way Spider-Man moves through both of these. But what are you saying?
I like this one a lot better. I didn't like the water one because
I couldn't decide what to have Spider-Man to do against water.
I don't know why we contrived a way to have him out of Spider-Man costume doing that stuff, because it's just not as cool when he's just swinging around.
We didn't talk about this, but it's weirdly easy to parallel with that first big action scene, which is wonderful, by the way, in or a lot of it anyway, in Spider-Man 3, because he's both out of costume fighting something and trying not to get the thing he wants to give his girlfriend busted or lost.
Oh yeah, that's surprisingly similar.
Isn't that weird?
He didn't have a shot though where it flew out of his pocket and he was like trying to catch it.
I do like the idea of a big water creature in Venice while we're dealing with the fact that Venice is sinking and everybody's getting their feet wet everywhere.
Yeah. I mean, that's the perfect place to do a water monster, is the literal city that has canals running through it. It's pretty cool.
It'd be cooler if it was a real water monster, but again, then you're just changing the nature of the story.
So TH1 says, should they have had Stan as a janitor in this memorial? Oh, I don't know, because they wouldn't have been able to shoot that beforehand.
Yeah.
So that would have been a little, unless they used just like an image, they'd have to talk to his family or whatever. I don't think we should do post-death, whatever you call them.
I don't have a problem with them coming up with subtle ways to contrive like a photo of him on a wall somewhere. Like that's fine. But then that's not a cameo, that's just an homage.
Yeah.
I remember there was a picture of him in Daredevil or Jessica Jones somewhere, or maybe it was Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., I can't remember.
It was Daredevil in the police station.
And all the typical geeky news outlets called it a cameo to get clickbait. It's a picture of the man. It's not it's like dictionary definition, not a cameo. I hate that.
Mr. Roboto says, how do you hologram Sandman? He is sand.
Well, I mean, same thing with the water guy. And I mean, I think the fire one is probably the easiest one to do because the drones could just have flamethrowers. I don't know if they do.
I think they all make as much sense.
Happen.
I don't think anyone makes more sense because they're all just a picture. So even if it's sand, it's just a picture of sand. It's not like they're actually...
No, I'm saying things that would make more sense because of how you could simulate the damage that they cause.
Oh, yeah. I was talking more about what his problem with the sand. But I think sand, like you said, makes as much sense as water.
I assumed that was the reason he said that, though, is that, like, it's hard to simulate like the sand creature actually like affecting anything with sand.
Because there would be sand everywhere.
Because there was sand everywhere.
It was in the desert though. It was in that like out that one I buy because
Oh,
it
okay,
wasn't in the
okay.
city. If it was in the city and there was no
Well,
sand,
with
when
Venice, you can say there's water everywhere, but not in the same way. Like,
oh, the weirdest conversation.
I'm getting ahead of myself, but one thing I don't quite get is when MJ and Peter realize that she's found a hologram, they discover that Mysterio is behind it because within the hologram thing, Mysterio is flying around doing things. So I guess the only way to reconcile that is sometimes he's using projections of himself.
Yeah, and it shows that there's a scene where he like does this and then he's getting ready to go out and one of the projections comes down and lands right on top of him. And
I guess that makes sense then.
But he would have
They're
to be
lucky
like...
they nabbed one that had that in that very moment, I guess. But yeah.
Yeah. Well, he would have to be like Batmaning off the stage right like all the time as soon as he turns into the hologram one. I don't know where he goes.
Matthew Patton, that's why they took away Spider-Man's Karen costume. Karen could probably detect the hologram. I don't get why if he's using... I don't... Oh, I see what you're saying. Because he doesn't
never
bring that costume with him.
Yeah.
Because
he puts it on a second with Fury, but he never
doesn't
fights
have
it.
the... Well, for a second, I thought you meant even that costume didn't have Karen, because I don't think he uses her at the beginning of this. But it would have to have that in it, because Stark made it. I don't know why it wouldn't.
Unless my no-frills protocol at the end of Homecoming was right. But we'll never know.
So I've always fundamentally disagreed with the way the movie and these characters, with what their official position is about how the glasses look on people, because I think they look fine on Peter and dumb on Jake Gyllenhaal. But the scene thinks they look dumb on Jake Gyllenhaal, or dumb on Peter and fine on Jake Gyllenhaal. I don't agree.
Well, I think that could be part of his manipulation when he says they look really dumb.
Oh, sure.
Like he's using humor to subtly get... There's this bug. Why is there a bug in my house? Do a moth clap.
Now, DJ, I want to play the other side of the argument for a minute about something you and I both agreed on earlier, that Peter might not be naive enough to give him these after how little time that they've spent together. On the other hand, Fury seems to trust him.
But Fury's an idiot in this movie.
Well, yes, but Peter's not thinking about it that way.
I know. Yeah, and that's another thing.
I would like that a lot more if Fury wasn't Talos, by the way.
Yes.
And if we bought that this guy duped Fury all along, as opposed to his whole, I was pretty sure he was, he was bad all along, but I've just been testing him this whole time or whatever, and like I don't know how much truth there really is to that, or if he's just saving face.
He is, because in the car at the end when they reveal it's Talos, he's like, I didn't want to talk about that. It's pretty embarrassing for a shapeshifter.
Oh yeah, that's right. He does say that. That's kind of fun.
It's a funny scene because that guy's hilarious, but
it doesn't fix the whole. It just doesn't fix the fact that they made that choice, because I hate that choice.
Yeah.
Jason and I had this conversation because we watched this together when I was preparing for this, and at first he said that the Talos, because he didn't like it either, and he was like, I think Jason's my 11-year-old son. Jason goes, I think the Talos thing is as bad as the cat in Captain Marvel, and I said, it's not that bad, and then he thought about it and he goes, okay, but it's comparable to the other after credit scene. He said it is as bad as the whole Carol Danvers Avenger thing, where she's the reason that we call the Avengers the Avengers. He goes, it's as bad as the Avengers Initiative thing, and I looked at him and I was like, I'll give you that. Yeah, it's on par with that.
I'd say it's as bad as the cat, because the cat ruins that one line from Winter Soldier, but the Talos thing kind of ruins this whole movie, this whole the
cat thing doesn't just ruin a line, though. It ruins part of a character arc. It's not about a line of dialogue.
Yeah, I'm just saying that's why I say they're on par, because this one ruins the whole Fury character.
I know you know who Jason is, but someone could be watching this that's. I don't want to be self-indulgent and assume that everybody knows my personal history. Like, somebody might be watching this that's never watched.
Every Marvel Mania is someone's first Marvel Mania.
That's not what I said. I knew you were going to do that. So I am going on the record to say I disagree with DJ. I think this reveal is great. I like it a lot. And I'm fine with the fact that I kind of thought it was probably coming at some point. I still like the way it plays. Mutale, who here doesn't know who Jason is?
Yeah, I like the scene a lot. Like, it's hilarious. It's so much fun.
There's also people that watch after the fact. Anyway.
The fact that I figured it was going here doesn't mean I don't like this scene. I think it's pretty funny.
Oh, I thought you... But I'm sorry, maybe I misunderstood you, but I thought you were saying that one of the worst parts about the movie was the reveal. I thought that's what you said.
The fact that they play it as a reveal, but I think this scene... I don't blame this scene for that. Like, I like this scene, because he would have this scene once he gets the glasses.
This whole thing is the most Stan Lee 60s comic stuff to me, and it's the best humor in the movie. I think this scene is hilarious and like legitimately so, and I like the way it's funny. And I like him in contrast to Vulture, because Vulture was legitimately frightening.
Yeah.
And I like that Mysterio is frightening enough in that you buy the stakes and stuff. I mean, as much as you're going to with those holograms, but we also play him as a joke because Mysterio's also been kind of a joke. Like,
yeah, he's kind of pathetic. Like, even when he's at the end, he's like screaming at not Toby. He's screaming at Peter. He's kind of pathetic. But then he.
But I like
that
he's not a joke because he's wearing a fishbowl helmet. Like, I like that that's played straight.
No,
I don't understand why
totally
Spider Sense can't be played straight when that's played perfectly straight. And then the box of scraps thing is the best. It's so good.
Amazing. The fact that they reshot.
It's amazing that they went back to that. I love that so much. And that they retroactively said that Mysterio came up with the technology that Stark was using in that scene in Civil War. I think is good. Like, somebody had to have made that. I get people's complaints that every Spider-Man villain has to be an Iron Man villain that has a beef more with Iron Man than they do with Spider-Man.
Yeah, that's unfortunate, but
I get that. But if it has to be
well.
that, I think it works as well as it can. Like,
yeah, the fact that they've got like a script writer and they've got like a story guy and a VFX guy, and it's so cool.
Yeah, they kind of play it like they're making a movie or putting on a play or something.
Oh yeah, and he's totally playing a director later on when he's like up all night like trying to get it right.
Yeah, and they do all that on a stage.
Yeah.
Which is a great choice.
I love everything about Mysterio.
And I also like that he doesn't have to be like an actual visual effects artist or a director or something to still have that kind of gravitas and I don't know. I don't know what word I'm looking for. I was like, when he says hormonal teenager, it's hilarious.
Yeah, I'm being so roused by this speech right now, I can't help you search for it.
You're still dealing with that bug?
Like, is that visible on screen? Do I just look like a crazy person?
No, you look like a crazy person. I can't see it. It might be a hologram.
It's like a tiny moth. Mysterio's taking down the welder with an annoying moth. I'm about to have like a whole Breaking Bad episode in my kid's playroom.
But yeah, I was distracted by the scene too. Theatricality is what I was going to say.
There you go. Yeah, he's great. Let me get to some.
Absolutely.
TH1. It should be noted that this takes place in the timeline after WandaVision and Falcon and Winter Soldier. Great show tonight, guys.
I guess it would have to be because of how long we're told time passed when they went to school, because they've done a whole year.
A whole year, yeah.
Yeah. That is true. And I kind of expected TV shows to take place in, like, between the raindrops some, that they wouldn't necessarily always be the very next thing that happens.
Yeah. And you wonder if they had known they were going to be doing these shows, if they would have made Black Widow a show, since they're
Yeah,
going back doing it
I
between
have
Civil.
also had that thought. Yeah.
Super Billy 499. Great performances aside, shocked by how unsatisfying and lacking this film is, especially comparing to Homecoming. Not to say that that movie is flawless.
No, it's not, but I think it's my favorite of the live action Spider-Man movies. Still at this point.
Yeah, yeah, I kind of feel how Super Billy does just kind of disappointed.
And part of that is because of the casting, because I feel like Tom Holland really nails high school Peter Parker, and is a really good blend of like an old school and a more modern way of playing Spider-Man.
How do you feel about her figuring this out, Lois Lane style?
I don't have
I
a
think it.
problem with it. She seems like the kind of character that would. I like that. I like
I
that
think it plays perfectly with
simultaneously
Homecoming.
she's smart enough to put it together, but isn't fully sure about it either. So I think it
Yeah.
does a good job of walking a line where it's playing the the kind of logic of being able to keep this a secret in comics straight enough while still not dumbing people down too much. Because I like when she's, oh, it's kind of obvious. And then later she's surprised when he comes out and says he really is Spider-Man. And she goes, I was only 67% sure. That's the line that sells it for me.
Yeah, and I buy it totally with the Homecoming movie we had, because at the end of that movie we find out she's been just stalking him the whole movie.
Yeah.
So like if you're stalking Peter Parker, you're gonna find out because he's the worst at covering up a secret.
Well, and the thing is, in this movie, everybody is suspicious of him, or maybe not suspicious, but knows something is up with him because he's having to make so many excuses. But but they've really only compiled as much as they have while they've been in Europe.
Yeah.
Like when they had that field trip to DC, was it DC in Homecoming?
Mm-hmm.
And they even bring that up in this, where it's like you were weird there too, but it didn't compile on top of itself like it did here, especially because at the end of this, he has to claim he has relatives in a country in Europe that he just goes and stays with.
How much do you like that they lost one hologram piece? The only thing they lost is one hologram
And
piece,
she
and
found
she
it.
happened to just pick it up.
That's pretty contrived. That's true. That is a little easy.
Later on, we'll find out that like he's furious that they lost one little piece. Like this isn't a common occurrence. It's like this is the only time it's happened.
So I know a lot of people are frustrated with all the reinventions of characters because they want something more, traditional comic book. And like a lot of people don't like that MJ is not Mary Jane and a totally different character, and that Ned Leeds is just Genki from the comics and all of that. But she sells me on it well enough in this movie. I don't know about you, but I am fine with this relationship by the end of this. Again, I wish I wish Peter had more of like the traditional Spider-Man guilt thing. I like they go to that place a little bit in this movie, but there's not enough that he's still having to deal with by the end of it, leading into something else. Like, he just doesn't have enough of the trademark like bad Peter Parker luck for me for a Spider-Man story. But and that's not me saying that she should have died this movie.
Jeez.
Like we did with Gwen Stacy in just their second Spider-Man movie. But I would hope that more of that kind of thing would happen in 3.
Yeah, I like her well enough. I don't know what. I just don't know what the relationship's going to be like yet. It doesn't. After this, it doesn't really. She's kind of separated from for the third act.
But I like how layered that character is. And she resonates with me because I had a friend, and for a minute a girlfriend, in high school who was very much like this character, who had
Cool.
this kind of dark, twisted sense of humor, and was very counterculture, and was like always kind of playing herself
Anti-government.
as this is like the smartest person in the room, and was still had a lot of insecurities and hadn't found herself yet. So she was compensating with all of that. But yeah, I like the setting for this scene a lot.
Yeah, this is really cool. I love the effect when they like fast forwarded the hologram. It's really funny. I love
that's
how
the kind of
the
relationship that I wish we had more time to really develop. That just again feels like it wants to be in a serialized narrative, a longer serialized narrative. That character doesn't want to be in movies. That character wants you to see her develop week to week.
Mm-hmm. It's a problem with, I mean, comics in general, but especially Spider-Man.
Especially Spider-Man, and especially high school kids.
Yeah, because high school kids change so much.
Yeah, they
we could come back. Yet. This is 2 years after Homecoming. They could be completely different people.
Yeah,
like you change so much in high school.
John Kelly, will it happen because Spider-Man got involved? Usually Mysterio is fighting the big monsters by himself. I think he's talking about losing the hologram, but it's still too easy that they only lose one and she finds it. If that's what you're talking about.
He's saying it right now. Oh, it wasn't even a drone. They lost one projector on a drone.
Oh, that's right. It was a projector. Stephen Murphy, I do like him coming up with these speeches like he thinks it's what heroes do. That's what they do in a comic or cartoon, but MCU heroes don't really do that. Yeah, that's a good point. He's speechifying like the bad guy in The Incredibles.
He needs to be a symbol for the people.
Syndrome.
Yeah, it's totally Syndrome. That's exactly
he
what
actually is Syndrome, isn't he?
Yeah, he's live action Syndrome.
He basically is that character. Kind of. Except it's not like he wanted to be a hero and some hero wouldn't let him be that, so he's got to get his revenge now. Imagine if that's what we did with Mysterio, though. He wanted to be Iron Man's sidekick.
Oh, that would be
great. He legitimately tried to be a hero in the first... When this movie opened, and, call me a dupe, because you said you didn't have this, but I wondered if maybe he was legitimately trying to be a superhero, and, like, the world wouldn't accept him or something, and so later in the movie, he'd have a switch. Where, like, he would start trying to, save people and stuff, and then it would turn into, well, I'm pretending like I'm a hero, and then you're all gonna get yours.
That'd be interesting. That's kind of like Danny DeVito from Batman Returns.
Yeah, because that guy looked like a hero from the beginning.
Yeah, he had no chance. Poor guy.
He almost became the mayor.
Yeah. Well, in that movie, it makes sense.
People love an underdog.
It's the Iceman scene, but it's flipped.
Yeah. I also like that MJ in this fights all of the real typical, girly stuff, but some of that is inner. Like, she can't fully, help what comes natural. And I don't think that's the movie saying all girls are the same. I'm not saying that, but I mean, she has, feminine hormones, just like Peter's got masculine ones, and they're both trying to decide what to do with them. It's very natural, and it's very natural in a modern way. You need a fly swatter stat.
Yeah, could you send one? Send one over.
Bug spray.
I feel like I could get them if I clapped, but I don't want to.
It'd be really funny if you just had some bug spray off screen, because like this has been happening to you for like several days, but we didn't know about it.
I'll bring
just right in the middle of the commentary, like.
For the Captain Logan show, I'm gonna bring some on Thursday. Do like a diva toxin, just like.
Stephen Murphy, the idea of taking advantage of no heroes being around during the blip, they could have had new heroes rising up. Yeah, that would have been great.
What if he had done what Syndrome had done and just murdered all the heroes?
What if there were all these new heroes that rose up in those 5 years, and then he killed them all, and we never knew who any of them were, and it didn't matter?
it's weird that we're saying like we're trying to make this darker, but we're making it a Pixar movie. Pixar's darker than MCU.
John Kelling, what a sociopath Beck is, decides to kill Peter Parker, blames someone else over it. Yeah, and I like the idea that working for Tony Stark can bring that out in people that might be naturally inclined that direction, where, like, he may have never gone this far, but he was pushed that far by another, narcissist and kind of megalomaniac.
So is Peter riding on drones right now?
I don't think we're supposed to question any of this.
That would be amazing if later on we flash back to this and he's just like sitting on drone on the street like an invisible jet.
We're just on top of one?
Yeah, just one big drone. Yeah, they really don't want you to think about the drone thing at all. They're just like, that's just for the final.
I've never gone back and really tracked this and tried to decide if any of it actually makes sense. Like, how much ground have they covered? Are they actually in this building right now?
Like, was he just a hologram in the car, but the car was real?
Yeah. In a weird way, this is almost more elaborate than some of the big city fights.
Yeah.
But this whole movie is worth the illusion sequence because it's wonderful.
Yeah, but I have the same thing you have with Iron Man 2. Like, I have the same thing you have with Iron Man 2, where the middle is by far the best action scene, and then the ending is kind of not as cool, in my opinion.
That's true, but I don't hate the ending.
There's something not aesthetically pleasing about Spider-Man just like swinging around punching drones.
Yeah, but it's fun that... I don't know, I guess it's a necessary evil, because that's how he's going to have to fight Mysterio until he gets face-to-face with him. Because, he's controlling them, and that's how this guy fights, with his mind before his brawn. But also, he's still fighting holograms, and I like that.
My wife had a problem with this, and I never thought about it. Like,
that he's in a school, and Mysterio wouldn't really... Well, I guess Mysterio knows enough about him with conversations they've had that he might put that in a school hallway.
No, her whole thing was, how does a hologram make you think that you're wearing different clothes?
Don't think about it, DJ.
I told her not to. I was like, shut up,
awesome.
I like the scene. That's what I said. I'm like, I like the scene. Don't talk about it.
It's walking that line where it wants to be a dream sequence, but I mean, it can't be a dream sequence.
It's not like he's getting drugged. It's not like Scarecrow thing. Scarecrow can explain
I was just so excited because we don't get this kind of thing, especially this creative in live action very much. Like, this whole sequence could have been in an animated film the same way as it is in this, and it would seem like over the top and like surreal, like over the top enough and surreal enough. And you get it here in live action. We never do this kind of stuff.
Yeah, this is awesome. This is my favorite scene, obviously, in the movie. I love everything about this.
Are these a bunch of drones hitting him in the face? Like, it breaks down.
You really just...
You can't follow it.
Don't go down that rabbit hole. It's like trying to explain the Cars universe in Pixar.
Some folks in the comments are saying that it's projected onto him, and why wouldn't that work, DJ? What's wrong with that?
It's
like it's close
to him?
What's that?
Because projections are flat. Like, you have to be a distance from a projection to see it. How's it going to project onto a 3D... your hands?
They're just really sophisticated holograms. Like, I wish it was more like holodeck technology in TNG, where... Because then it would be really believable, DJ. Because the way that works is it's basically like a combination of actual holographic images and... Oh, look, there's more bugs. You got to hit those bugs. But it's like a combination of holographic images and also replicated matter. And if he could be using energy that he replicates into matter and then immediately turn it back into energy whenever he needs to, then all of that works.
You wouldn't even need the drones at that point.
No, you wouldn't.
actually be breaking stuff.
Yeah, because you could make you could make all the illusions solid if you wanted to. Or at least some of them, depending on the limitations of the technology.
Yeah, what we really need is the danger room. If we had had X-Men before this movie,
Yeah.
we could have used that technology. Mysterio worked for Professor Xavier, and he's like disgruntled employee.
Because in TNG, you couldn't do it with biomatter, really. But, so, I mean, there would be limitations. Yeah, exactly, cinematographic, like an EMH. Exactly.
Yeah, TH1 $2 super chat just says it's like the holodeck.
Yeah, but it's not, though, because he can just swing right into a projection, and then he's inside of it. And see, look, they're projecting it. Yeah, they're just projecting what he's seeing onto him, including... Well, I guess not a suit now. He's actually wearing that now.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and Stephen Murphy, the snow globe is the coolest thing.
Yeah. That's not heaven. It's the sea train.
It's the sea train!
He'd be a great Daredevil, by the way.
Yeah. You hurt my feelings with that joke. I can't believe I didn't think of that. Oh, that's the best part of this commentary so far. You're not going to beat that. It's the sea train!
All right, guys, I'll see you. Good night. I'm going to head off.
I gotta go kill a bug.
The bug's going to be the death of me. I'm going to get moth powers by the end of this.
I'm going to start calling you Arthur. Blue Dragon 5 says Spider-Man has bad luck with trains. That's true. That's a motif. They can't get away from these motifs as much as they want us to not think about previous franchises, which is hilarious because apparently the very next thing they're going to do is bring in all the franchises.
Oh, man.
You know what I want? I want Tom Holland to sit down.
This is where they're all talking about their big shark stories. I thought they were just going to all talk about their trains.
I think we might have cut out for everybody for a second, but hopefully we're back and everybody can see us okay.
John Kelling said DJ for comment of the stream. He thinks I should be comment of the stream.
You get comment of the stream.
That'd be so self-indulgent.
We have not kept up with that very well.
Yeah.
It's the sea train. And then nobody even understands the context of it. They're like, wait, DJ got comment of the stream just for quoting Daredevil? Okay.
Yeah, it doesn't work in commentaries. You kind of have to be there. It's a have to be there joke.
Mutale, who here has been to the Netherlands? I have not, but I meant to say earlier that that shot where they're going up the Alps, I have been there and on the very road that they were driving on.
Oh, wow.
And in the winter, which was cool. Because we got to see it when it was snowy.
Yeah. He's lucky he ended up in the Netherlands where everyone's
super nice and
super
we'll just
friendly.
let him use a phone.
Yeah, just let him walk out of prison.
I do think this, like, it's odd in this movie, but that, like, in a Spider-Man movie, I guess, but the joke where he says the name of the town, it's like impossible sounding to pronounce, and then they show it on the screen. That's funny to me.
I need to take my wife to this at some point. Tulips are her favorite flower.
Daniel Davis, how many states in Europe have you been to, Cap? We went to 4 countries.
Wow.
In 11 days. And my favorite was Switzerland.
I know where this joke is going.
Yeah,
this
like
is
right
another.
away.
This is another thing that's like old people writing a kids movie. No kid in the world would pay on pay-per-view for an adult film. Like, they just use the internet. Like,
except I would bet you money that was Favreau improvising that line, and that there is a gag reel where there's 12 other things he came up with, and that's the one they picked.
Yeah, probably.
I bet you money.
It's just so weird that a kid these days. And there's another one in that little. I wonder if we should watch that after this. Have you ever watched that alternate opening short film thing where he's like, where he fights in the suit that they cut out? That was in all the
No,
trailers.
I haven't.
There's a scene in there where it actually shows him sell all his toys so he can afford to buy Mary Jane that necklace, and it's like He-Man. And I'm like, what? How does he have
Why would he
He-Man?
have
What?
that?
No, he wouldn't. He's not an '80s kid.
Yeah, that's pretty out of touch. He wouldn't know what that was. I mean, he might know what that was, but
Yeah, but like I know what it is, like because of pop culture.
yeah.
And he's even younger than
I don't
us.
know, a guy that says that really old movie Empire Strikes Back is not going to collect 80s He-Man toys. He wouldn't talk about it like that.
And it plays like they're super rare, like he's had them since he was an '80s kid because they're actually worth something. Because the guy at the pawn shop's like, "Are you sure you want to trade these?" But yeah, this is a nice scene.
Yeah, and again, this is supposed to be the crux of his character arc and kind of his big opportunity for change, where it's like, I'm not like, he has to embrace the fact that yes, he is a kid and just has to feel everything out, and that like you have to let the chips fall where they may. Like negative consequences are going to happen when you're trying to do the right thing, and like yeah, learn the right lessons from what happened with Beck, but the lesson isn't like you're supposed to already have everything figured out, or you did some kind of like really horrible unethical thing for giving it to him. It's that despite everything you've gone through, you're still a kid and you're gonna make some mistakes.
It's just so weird. Like it's kind of anti-Spider-Man to me because like Spider-Man is supposed to be the hero that's like not the hero. He's not Captain America. He's not Iron Man. He's like the kid who's like trying to figure stuff out, and now they're trying to
But I
make it
think
seem
maybe
like
that's like I said earlier. I think that's
Iron Man
maybe supposed
chose
to be the
him to
point.
be his
Where the point is,
predecessor.
Tony felt it out, and so you also like everyone has to do this. You also have to just feel your way through stuff.
Yeah, but like I don't think Tony in Civil War was picking this kid to be his predecessor. I feel like he saw something in him and was like, hey, we need some recruits.
Well,
I'm
that's
just
the
gonna
big thing
pick
I'm
you.
not sure about is I don't think the movie ultimately comes down enough on whether Tony meant to give him the glasses or have him pass the glasses on. Because, like I said earlier, it seems like by the end of this, the movie is saying that whether he's ready for it or not, he kind of has to be an Avenger now. And, like, why else would you have, like, you know, like Back in Black playing and he's doing Tony Stark stuff in the plane.
Yeah, this is totally like of that first scene where they talk about how he like tried to mimic the exact movement of putting his hand in that gauntlet thing.
So I'm a little conflicted about what exactly it's saying with all this in the grander MCU, but like just for the I'm trying to feel this out, and of course I haven't written about this movie yet, but like for the just the sake of this movie and the character arc he's going through, I think it's supposed to be like, you know, you've gone abroad, and you're supposed to, when you go abroad when you're a kid, you're supposed to do that to get perspective and understand the world a little bit better, and he feels like he should already have everything figured out, and at the same time as he's like not even sure how to ask a girl out, he's having to deal with things like this guy has manipulated me into giving him like Tony Stark's arsenal. Yeah. And like what do you do with that? Should I just stop being a superhero because I don't know what I'm doing? And the point is supposed to be you just have to keep going and you know, figure it out the best you can. And then ultimately at the end of the day, that's what Tony Stark did. I think that's what it's saying, but I don't know if it's saying he should be an Avenger or not exactly.
Yeah, but is he gonna, like, is this just what Spider-Man is moving forward? He's just gonna build his own suits with Tony's tech. He's gonna be like a super techie Spider-Man. Like, this would be you had it perfect out. Tony died. He could have to make it on his own. He could have to be a resourceful Spider-Man. Like, but I don't know. They just want to do the super fancy.
I think there's a couple of things going
stuff
on here with that. One of them is that the MCU itself doesn't fully know how to move on from that character because that's where it started, and I think it's a little bit timid about the future without without Downey, and that's part of what's going on there. And it's also the commercial thing of Spider-Man is the next most popular character, or in a broader sense, even more popular still than Iron Man, right? And so,
Yeah.
like, he has to be the flagship character, even though we don't even know if we'll have that property forever in the MCU.
Yeah, it's got to be so nerve-wracking for Feige and them to be like planning their whole universe around this character that they can get yanked away at any moment.
And also, as they're adding other characters that are supposed to be like the next, big Avengers and flagship characters. So like you bring in Black Panther and he gets really popular, but now you can't use him. And then you have Captain Marvel. You introduce her. You don't know how popular she's going to be. The verdict is still out on how much people are even going to accept that character moving forward. I mean, it's like you said, it's dicey.
Yeah, how does this character move forward though? Like in No Way Home, is he gonna be like the Spider-Verse Spider-Man, where he has like an under the house bat cave that Aunt May knows about, and they because he needs all this tech to run his suits now. Like, is he gonna live in Tony's tower?
And that's the second thing I was gonna mention is it's also trying to be, I think, and I don't know how influenced this material even is by modern comics, but a super techie Peter Parker who's a super genius and I'm not saying this guy even is a straight up super genius. I actually kind of like that they don't go as far with that as we have in other things, but like he's able to use Tony Stark's technology and
immediately.
Yeah, and so it's like modern Spider-Man, especially during the Slott era, where he that Spider-Man had his own company, like a multi-billion-dollar company, and used gadgetry as much or more than more than like Batman, and so the sensibilities of this are very with the character are very old school Stan Lee, but the broader sensibilities of the world are very modern Marvel, and it's I think maybe struggling to marry those two things. It wants to be both of those things at the same time.
I think that's a problem.
And that's why we get that stuff from Tony instead of having him develop it himself.
Yeah. But now Tony's gone. So like he has to understand the ins and out of all this engineering because no one can fix it.
And I do think it's unfortunate to go back to this place after at the end of last movie, like he has to go back and put on his makeshift Spider-Man suit, prove that he can do it on his own and that he deserves the suit that Tony was going to give him, and then rejects that at the end. And now he just has it again.
Well, this is the complete opposite. Yeah, he has to go back to... And it could have maybe seemed like a double beat if we did that again. Like he has to give up the tech again. But he kind of has. Like the stealth suit had no tech in it, and he was doing fine.
That's true. Yeah.
But that's a problem I've had with the MCU going all the way back. Is that's what I love about the Marvel universe is like you have a scientist for each if you need to know about gamma rays, you go to Bruce Banner. He's like an expert on gamma rays.
I thought you said gamma rays. You had to find giant space turtle rays. You go to Bruce Banner. He knows all about giant space turtle rays.
But like Iron Man was the engineering expert, and then Mr. Fantastic has his own field, and but in the MCU it's just like
he knows about space turtle rays.
But MCU
sorry. Fantastic would know about the space turtle rays, and then Bruce Banner would know about just like Earth turtle rays.
Yeah, and then you got Hank McCoy studying mutations,
genetics.
And you got Hank genetics, and then you got Hank Pym who studies a whole different field of study. But like in the MCU, it's just like if you know science,
you know everything.
You know everything. You can make time travel. You can make Ultron.
Well, and Avengers was starting to get us away from that. Because
but then I feel like Ultron went right back because they just made Ultron.
Well, and even when you get into Endgame, you've got Bruce Banner who's like, well, this isn't really my field, but I'll try. And then he gets halfway there with time travel. He shouldn't be able to do any of that. And
it's not Tony's field either, but he can do it.
But I'm okay with Tony being such a genius. He's a catch-all and he can do almost everything. Like, I'm more okay with that. Especially since we started with him.
Yeah, I would prefer he's more into... Because he's like a mechanical engineer. I mean, obviously I would prefer Mr. Fantastic. If we have to have a catch-all, I would prefer Mr. Fantastic to be that catch-all, but we don't have him yet.
By
But
the
now
way,
when he gets here, it's going to be like, okay, we've had a million geniuses. Like, what are you going to do?
I have to mention that I have some of the same reservations you do about going back to a Stark suit. I mean, I would be okay with doing it for this mission, and then at the end we say something about him, not needing it anymore or whatever. But I do love what it looks like. This is my favorite
Oh yeah,
MCU Spider-Man suit so far. I love the black in it, and that's great. And I wonder if I had this thought just on this last viewing, DJ. I wonder if we were looking at that suit real hard with PS4 Spider-Man, because it's got the white spider on the front and back like this one does.
I think PS4 was before this.
Had that already come out?
Yeah, because you get this suit.
Oh, you're right. No,
PS4.
you're right. You think this was looking at PS4 Spider-Man? It might have been.
I
I'm actually surprised
so.
there's not somehow an advertisement actually for that game in the movie, since it's a Sony movie. No, you're right. This would have had, yeah.
I think this
My
suit
years
is
are running
at...
together really hard right now, you guys. Like, time's moving by so quickly. But no, of course, that game would have had to have come out before this.
No, I like this suit because it looks a lot like the
yeah.
Alex Ross concept art for the suit that he proposed for the first Tobey Spider-Man movie. I don't know if you've seen that Alex Ross suit.
Muchali says this suit doesn't have the tech the previous suit had. Okay. I just wasn't totally sure what all it had. I mean, he's not talking to Suit Lady, I guess.
Yeah, it just doesn't... We don't know what he put in it. Like, he has the parachute, he has the wings, but I don't know what else he has.
The parachute's cool, by the way. And that's another fun callback where it's it's like the underarm webs again, where we find a way to get that in there. But in the comics, usually when he's got a parachute, especially early comics, he's got the parachute because he makes it with a web, and then it looks like a spider. Yeah.
Which would be
sometimes it's just a parachute, but. John Kelly, the PS4 Spider-Man was displayed in the jet. Oh, of course it was. I missed that. Okay, so there is an advertisement for that game in this movie. Of course, of course there is.
So what is that in universe? Was Tony just messing around? Mark 23 Spider-Man suit, white symbol.
Why was Tony spending so much of his time on Spider-Man suits? Or maybe he's got such good AI that his AI could just design suits for him. Maybe Karen made all the suits.
Karen's got to have something to do. She's just sitting in there in that old suit.
Boy, if Homecoming had been made after last year, we would have... that character would not have been named Karen. That's for sure.
Oh, Karen. This score is a little goofy. I never noticed that the first time when he's falling. It's like...
The score seems rushed in this movie. It's like Giacchino had maybe a couple weekends. I like the main theme a lot.
Yeah, and we gotta do that score video at some point. I've been listening to scores, and I did listen to I haven't listened to this one. I did listen to the Homecoming score.
I need to do more of that before we make that video. I never thought of this before, but I appreciate... Tell me if I'm reaching here. I appreciate that his mocap suit kind of has the Mysterio eyes all over it.
Oh, really? Well, and that's exactly what Tom's been wearing for the last two movies, because that's all he wears in Avengers, because the Avengers suit has no physical suit like these ones do.
Oh,
so he's only been running around. He's been running around in that pajamas. So he talks about it that he was really excited to get back into a suit in this movie.
So I'm going to mention this earlier, but let me make this point real fast. You know how I was talking about in Homecoming that movie is patterned a lot after and parallels a lot the first Iron Man movie. This one, curiously, and I don't know how much of this is on purpose, feels patterned off of Iron Man 3. And we made that point earlier about how Beck kind of has the Mandarin thing a little bit. But also, there's the fact that Peter has to go somewhere... has to like make a trip and find himself to a degree. We do that in Iron Man 3. And it's not the post-traumatic stress thing, that you have with Iron Man 3, but something I thought about on this viewing that I hadn't really considered before is that he is dealing with the fact that the world is different now because he's dealt with aliens.
Much bigger. Yeah, the world has opened
Yeah,
up.
it's a bigger world now. It's that, and like he's not hallucinating or like passing out or anything like Tony was, but so it's not quite the same thing. And also, Happy is there to help him through it. I guess in Iron Man 3 he gets taken out at the beginning, so he's not really helping Tony through it much. But
a different 2-syllable H name character, Hurley, helps him through it.
What do you mean? Oh yes, that's true. That's true.
The little kid's name is Hurley.
It's not Hurley. What is it?
Harley. Sorry.
Harley. There you go. Hurley from Lost.
If they put Hurley in this series,
oh, it'd be great. Yeah. For a minute, I was like, "Why are you calling Happy Hurley?"
he kind of looks like a Hurley. He could be a Hurley.
But it is interesting that Happy has a bigger role in Iron Man 3 than he had before, and then he's in this movie.
A lot, yeah. He's a ton in this movie.
So, how much of that do you think is on purpose? Like, am I just seeing a few similarities, or do you think they're looking at that movie?
I think probably because we both love that movie, but that wasn't a very it was well received by the public, I guess. So I don't know.
Well, keep something else in mind though too. They're also both the Aftermath movies. They're epilogue. They're the very next thing after a huge event movie.
Well, yeah, I do, now that you say that, I do see them.
So that might have just led them to similar places as opposed to they're looking at Iron Man 3, right? But
yeah,
I'm just saying it has a lot in common with that movie. Mutali, first Spider-Man film to have the final battle during the day, and isn't that weird?
Well, it makes sense. He wants everyone to watch. Like, he talks about how he wants everyone to record.
I'm not saying it's weird that this is during the day. I'm saying it's weird that we've never had a third actor of the day in a Spider-Man movie.
That's true. Yeah.
We're talking an entire trilogy. It always happens at night. Of course, their third acts are cut and paste in all three of those movies.
MJ gets kidnapped by the villain, then she gets saved.
Cinematographic thinks they're definitely looking at that movie. I just think at the very least they wind up at some of the same places because they're trying to figure out how to do an Aftermath movie with a singular character.
This thing
in a franchise that's ongoing.
This part here just hurts my feelings because he picks up a shield for a minute and my wheels just start spinning. I'm like, it would have been so much better if Cap was his mentor, man.
Yeah.
It would have been so cool. Like that moment they have in Civil War, they're both kids. They're both kids from New York. He's from Queens, he's from Brooklyn. They both hate bullies. Like they're both. There would have been so many parallels if it went that way.
Yeah, and he's very much in the wrong, like on the wrong side in that. Like he's thrown in the middle of a political debate that he has no dog in and does not understand.
Yeah.
But I mean, if he was older and really thinking about it, he would be on Cap's side on that whole thing.
Yeah, and if this kid had Cap,
he's the only vigilante characters in these movies with a secret identity. He has to be on Cap's side.
Like, if we're not going to have an Uncle Ben in this franchise, give him Cap as a mentor. That I could buy a kid who's mentored by Cap.
That's such a good
Spider-Man.
point.
Like, look at that. He has the shield.
I mean, there's a lot of interesting things about Tony being his mentor, and I don't hate that. But just imagining another reality where it was Cap instead.
Yeah, it's just fascinating to me.
Because Tony is like what traditional Peter Parker before his Uncle Ben dies and he learns the responsibility lesson is in to like, dial up to 11 to macrocosm.
Yeah.
And so like that guy having learned some of those lessons and being the last person on Earth who might is great, is really interesting. The problem, of course, is that we've not seen this Peter Parker that real selfish and deal with as much of that stuff. I mean, yeah, he's somewhat selfish in his first movie. He doesn't handle things right. But because we've already done it in other movies and we're supposed to just assume things with this franchise, with this version, we've not seen a Peter that would have used his powers to try to, impress chicks or gain wealth or, all the things that Tony Stark would have done with it.
Yeah.
But those are the inherent parallels. Like, I feel like if you don't really know this character outside of this franchise, you don't appreciate some of the reasons that Tony is really interesting to be his mentor.
Mm-hmm. I like this kind of part. I like this idea that he just trusts his spider sense to know where they are, but like we haven't really talked about that the whole movie. The only thing we got was that dumb Peter Tingle joke in the very beginning.
Well, somebody earlier was complaining that he seems to have to develop it in this, and they're like, "Why does he hasn't? Why does he have to develop it?
He hasn't been honing it or anything. Like I could buy that. Like he has the power, but he has to like learn how to focus it, kind of like a mutant or whatever.
Sure.
But he hasn't been. He just hasn't even thought about it. He just does it.
But why do his other powers all come to him naturally, and he didn't have to evolve them? Where, like, this is... and it's weird, we do that with superheroes a lot, where we have this one token power that he doesn't figure out very, very readily. I don't know why that is.
I could see it being like he can do it, but he just has to learn how to use it. Like he could swing, like he can climb walls, but he might not be good at it yet. Like he just has to practice. So I could see with Spider Sense him having to learn how to like control it a little bit more.
But the problem is he's already so established when we first get to him that it never occurred to me that he wouldn't understand his Spider Sense. And then when you get into Infinity War, he uses it. So why? Perfectly. What's that? Yeah, like he's just sitting in a boss, and we use that for trailer fodder too.
Well, I think the problem is that Spider Sense is inherently something you don't have to learn how to use because it's just natural.
Yeah, it's like a sense.
He shouldn't be able to use it.
It's just like your sight or your hearing. Like, yeah.
I hate that. Like, I think this is a huge cheat. Like the fact that Edith says she's dead, that he's dead, but everyone assumes he's going to come back. And like he puts together this thing for J. Jonah Jameson after this. So is he not dead here?
No, I assumed he put it together before this. No, he had to put it together before this.
Okay, well, I'll
and that's why I don't understand people that assume that he's not dead and coming back. I also could totally see the cop out but this is the important moment. The box of scrap guy gets the download. Mm-hmm. He's already made that. He just got it. So while he's dying, the box of scraps guy gets the file that we're gonna see at the end of the movie. It's happened already.
Yeah, I don't really have a problem with that. Well, I was responding more to like people who say that he can come back. I will be very.
I wanted to point that out for anybody that never noticed that that's what's happening with the phone right there. He's already made that, guys. It doesn't happen after this.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
That's what the file is.
For the people who think that justifies him coming back, I see what you're saying.
There's no justification other than
we need villains.
He could have. Yeah, I mean, he could have pretended that he was dead, I guess.
But how does he trick the Edith?
That's the part that wouldn't make any sense, yeah. Because that's the movie saying this is clearly 100% real at this point.
Which I don't like that they did that, because we've learned. Amazing learned this, and then Homecoming learned this. We don't kill Spider-Man villains. You need to keep them alive. Like, why did they kill him there? There's like no reason.
Cinematographic, the bullets from his drone killed him. Because he basically had, like, the fire everything moment, and then he got hit because he fired everything.
Well, he had the exact moment from Godspeed, Spider-Man.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
He tried to shoot him, and Peter blocked it and accidentally hit the real one.
I want the box of scraps guy to come back in the third one and be like, you killed my best friend. No, what he did to himself. The bullet that pierced his body came from his drone.
Amazing. And that'd be the movie to do it if we're going to be rehashing all the Toby movies.
So I love these actors. Again, I love the layered way that Zendaya's playing this. I cannot take this scene seriously because I don't buy him with his mask off doing all of this in the middle of all this destruction and debris. Like, there's no one around. You're sure there's no one around?
She was just running around with the whole gang.
There's no one around. And you're positive about this. Okay. Sure.
He's having Edith run the holograms like all around him so nobody can see him.
But what I was gonna say is
Daniel Davis. Oh, now they're kissing.
What I was gonna say is I could totally buy, but I think they earned that. I think they got us there. I could totally see the next movie using just the fact that he had illusions as an excuse to say that he didn't really die there, and like, don't think about it, he's not dead. I could also see them doing that. And if that happens, you'll see a lot of people that called that go, see, we were right all along. And I'll be like, it doesn't mean that they executed it, right? Like,
I don't know why you would write it that way, though. Like, why would you kill him? There's no reason to kill him.
Well, that's what I'm saying is, if he comes back later, that doesn't mean that they'd always plan on bringing him back.
No.
They may think he's dead in that scene. You see what I'm saying? But you'll see some fanboys that'll come back and be like, no, see, we knew that all along they were going to bring him back.
I fully believe.
I don't know that they know that.
I fully expect them to bring him back because I think you should. I don't think you should kill off your Spider-Man villains because he has a Sinister Six. You need to keep your villains alive. We learned this in Amazing.
Yeah.
And they did it right in Homecoming. Vulture's alive. All the villains. Scorpion they set up. Tinkerer.
So we haven't said anything about the Genki Betty Brant relationship. I don't know if you have anything to say about that.
It's just that more of that high school stuff, like two nerdy kids. They probably haven't had many girlfriends or boyfriends. They're just like, oh, let's just do it. And then we're just done with it.
Their
character
mature
development
get
for
what
Flash
relationships are. Like, it seems, I mean, I know it's played for comedy, but like it seems like a thing that kids that age do. Although it seems like a thing kids like 3 years younger than them do.
Yeah.
I guess I'll say that.
This is like their what? Is it their sophomore or their junior year? You're usually getting a little more serious about your relationships by then.
Well, yeah, of course.
That was a weird line. Where's your bags? Oh, they got blown up. That's right.
So, I wonder if that was supposed to be kind of like cutesy foreshadowing for the big reveal at the end. I never thought about this until just now, but like they do that joke where we're supposed to think that Peter's talking about something else when he's talking about his aunt and Happy's relationship, which we also didn't talk about. But he's like I'm tired of the lies. It's time the truth comes out. And maybe that's the movie making us think that he's about to say, for whatever reason, because I don't know what this has to do necessarily with the rest of the movie, except I
don't know why you would think that.
He had to hide the whole time, and that was difficult for him, I guess. But like, or something to do with Mary Jane or MJ knows now. I don't know. But I think, and I didn't have this thought watching it, so it didn't work for me anyway. But I think maybe it's for a split second we're supposed to think that he's about to out himself, and then he gets outed.
Is that maybe trying to play on the fact that he's like an Iron Man clone, and Iron Man at the end of his first movie tells everyone? But like, I wasn't thinking about that at all. This movie didn't get me there.
Yeah, and that would end up being kind of a double beat thing, because that was a parallel they already did with the last movie, where he doesn't come out and say, I am Spider-Man, but then his aunt finds out, like, right at the end.
Yeah. I like that Rugrats-esque sound she just made as she flew by the screen. Oh, best part of the whole movie. I love this song.
I think you just meant her screaming because she's swinging around with Spider-Man.
No, I just love this title sequence. The animation's awesome.
It is weird to me that when we do the mid-credit scene, that scene just keeps going.
Yeah, it's just like that's where they stop.
Odd choice.
Yeah, this director is running on the fact that the end credit scenes are absolutely part of the movie, like
Yes.
because they're both very necessary for the movie. So you have to stay.
Yeah, and like fully inform the next stuff. Or I'm assuming this will fully inform the next movie. I mean, it has to.
It better, yeah. I guess we'll talk about the. I don't know. Like, why? It's just that they had to end it the same way as the first movie, right? Like they wanted another big. They even did like the. He says the exact same expression that Aunt May says when he gets cut off before he says the F word. Like they did it. This has some Home Alone 2 vibes. Like we didn't
Yes.
talk about the beginning, but they both open with the villain scene, and then it cuts to a montage immediately right after that,
It's
and then
like
it
we're
goes
trying
to
to
the
couch
school.
that in the fact that it's in another location, just like Home Alone 2 did. But it's not
Yeah.
a completely carbon copy of the first
No, it
movie
just
like
has
that is. We're not saying
some
it's
vibes.
going that far, but I can see why it reminded you of it.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's anywhere near as bad as that. I'm just saying there's some things that it felt like they just felt like they needed to do again. Kind of like the Quicksilver thing in Apocalypse, where it's like everybody loved this, so we should do this again. We gotta have a big twist,
Do
even
we
if
have any
it.
more super chats that we haven't knocked out?
We do. Let's talk about those.
I mean, we'll have
TH1,
some more time here in a minute too, but
TH1, $2. You did do a commentary on this sorta.
sorta. What was my sorta commentary?
I don't know, maybe the second Dan video you.
I went back to check, and all I found was the spoiler cast and the spoiler review that I did with Dan. But I was having flashes, like I had talked about this before, like particularly when we're in the Alps. Like I remembered looking at that scene and saying into a camera, "I've been there," but apparently not.
That's crazy.
Okay, so what are your feelings on the J. Jonah Jameson thing? People are going to want us to talk about that.
I don't like that they recast him. I mean, I don't like that they didn't recast him.
Oh, you're with me on that. Okay.
Yeah, I know. I don't like that. I don't like using the same person. Like, it's not the only person that can play him. There's tons of people that can play him. I love him. He's obviously one of the best parts of the original trilogy, but
Well, and that's what initially made me think that's just a fun stunt cameo thing they're doing. They're not going to actually use him as a character, and if we see him again, it'll be in another cameo fashion. And now that Spider-Man 3, or I guess we have a title for it now, now that help me out. It's No Way Home. Now that No Way Home looks like the multiversal do everything we've ever done with this character in film thing, all bets are off. Like he could be playing that version and this version in the same movie, or he could just be playing that version and we pretend like that didn't happen or we don't do anything with it, or it could turn out that retroactively that is the first multiversal thing that has happened in the MCU. That we're already looking at a character from the other movies here because we know we're about to do that. You can't tell me it can't happen.
No, they can do whatever they want, but that's not what they were intending here, I don't think.
I don't think so
But
either. Now,
I don't get why
I
that's
also am not
exciting.
saying I'm assuming that will happen either, because we learned the other day that apparently they're doing like a de-aging thing so that Doc Ock can show up right after Spider-Man 2 and we can just continue that story where he just didn't die in the water and he came out of it for some reason.
Yeah, they do what they did with the box of scraps scene, and he's like floating at the end of Spider-Man 2, and then he just wakes up and then just swims away.
That's what it sounds like they're doing.
Oh my gosh. But yeah,
I'm still
I wish
taking
they had-
everything with a grain of salt, by the way, with that whole thing.
I don't like casting the same person from a different franchise. That's just weird. I don't know why people thought that was awesome. And I don't have the thing that everyone's like complaining that he's apparently just a real person, because I don't know who that real person is that everyone says he is playing.
Oh yeah, he's doing the Jones thing. What's his face? He's just doing the controversial radio personality.
Yeah. Everyone had a problem with that.
Making,
I don't know.
Making up stuff. uh,
Yeah.
doing the conspiracy theory thing.
Yeah. So that didn't bother me in the theater because I don't know who that is. So, but yeah, I don't know. And then obviously I don't like the big cliffhanger thing so early on. Like, but I
Alex
guess
Jones,
this
yeah,
is
I couldn't think of it.
totally.
I'm sorry, what?
I don't know. It's just. I just hope they. I don't know. I hope they do something with it now that they've done it. But I don't. I kind of don't want them to do something with it because I don't want Peter to have his identity out so early already, like still in high school.
Yeah,
I don't.
especially because the MCU doesn't have heroes with secret identities, and the only ones they had have been decanonicized now.
Yeah.
Because they had Daredevil on Netflix, and that was wonderful, and now that doesn't count.
So yeah, I don't really like it that much. Maybe they can play it well. I just don't know what the. It's also a totally different. I've heard people say this. It's like a totally different J. Jonah Jameson, right? Like he's not a reporter. Like he's just the editor. He wouldn't be on camera. He's a totally different character now.
Yeah, but Jedi Knight mentioned that the video game did it first, the PS4 game, and that's where they're getting that from. Because yeah, they did that in the video game. Like he's a radio personality in that, and
Yeah.
he's got his own talk show. That's all that is. It's just a radio talk show.
Yeah, but I'm saying that's a totally different. Just because the video game did it doesn't mean it's now the character. He's usually an editor of the paper. I guess that's
Right,
the way
but
they
what
feel
point
like
are
they
you
have to
making?
do it.
They've reinvented everybody in these.
That's true. I'm just, I don't know, just pointing it out.
Well, no, I know, but are you saying that like that's bad, so you don't want to see any more of him because of that? I'm just not following.
No, I mean I think that was just going along with the Alex Jones thing, because feel like they just that's the way they have to do it these days, because obviously paper's not going to be a huge thing. So
I also think it's funny.
Yeah.
Blue Dragon 5 was a podcaster in the game. Well, yeah, okay, he had a podcast as opposed to a radio show. I wasn't sure if it didn't have radio syndication though, because I mean, it's hard to draw the line these days. If you're if you're a big enough podcaster, you're also often on the radio.
Yeah, we just got another super chat, so let me get to some of these. Mr. Roboto, DJ, could we, the fans, get you in as the new Mysterio? No, not unless you have a lot of money as the fans.
I just don't think this channel has enough pull just because we have single-handedly canonicized the Welder as a major Marvel Cinematic Universe villain. Like,
no, I am not the new Mysterio.
they don't know that you were the other like snuck-in villain in Homecoming that they could pick up with and do something with later. Like, shocker.
They'll know. They will know.
See, you won't even be the new Mysterio. You'll just be the last on the Sinister Six. It'll be like, it's okay that we kill off Mysterio, because we still have Shocker, and we still have Vulture,
Scorpion.
and we have...
And
who else was in that? The Tinkerer? No, not Tinkerer. Who?
Yeah, Tinkerer was in it.
Tinkerer?
Scorpion. We set up Scorpion, and now we have the Welder.
Sure. And we have the Welder. You'll be the sixth one, right?
I'm the water boy of the Sinister Six. I just like bring them their weapons, and I'm the team manager.
But also, since we're doing a multiversal thing, if they did Sinister Six next, and I don't think they will, but I guess I don't know, maybe they will. Maybe Sony will go, it's our third movie, it has to be Sinister Six. We didn't get to make that when we did the previous franchise, when we did the Amazing movies. It could be a mix of villains from different universes, I guess.
Yeah. Jedi Knight, $2. This movie made
They're gonna have a digitally de-aged Doc Ock as the leader of the Sinister Six.
Ugh.
You'd think, though, that right after that movie, he just wouldn't be a bad guy anymore. How would you even make him bad still?
I don't know.
Maybe he won't be.
Wow.
I just had that thought.
He's just like the Kirk Connors of this movie.
I mean, we don't have one.
So why not? We could have two Kirk Connors. We could just bring them all in.
We'll tell you, what if they bring back Dafoe to play MCU Norman? But the rumor's been that Dafoe's coming back to play that Norman. It's like everybody's coming back.
This
is what we
I'm
keep
just
hearing.
Ignoring,
I just don't.
I'm just ignoring any rumor about that movie until it's like on my screen because it's the most insane speculation for any movie ever.
I'm not trusting anything I'm hearing about it yet.
I'm just worried. I'm just worried that the fans are. That's the problem that Marvel has is the fans just have all this time to come up with so many more things, and Marvel has to make these things years ago by the time they get made and they come out. Like that's the thing that happened with WandaVision. Like everyone had all this time to think about all these twists when the show was already finished and done, and they hadn't
I always complain about lack of historical perspective, but then it gives you lack of present perspective because people will start assuming that things are going to go in a thing based on things that have happened too recently for it to have informed that film.
Yeah, they acted like WandaVision was a TV show on a network they were like, you film a couple and then you release them and you film a couple more. Like it was shot all at the same time.
Daniel Davis says, poor Topher Grace, though. Yeah, he won't come back, probably. I'd be real surprised if we did that. He got sucked into a vortex for no reason. I guess they could say that led to another universe.
Oh, he got Red Skulled? Topher Grace is on another planet just like with like a cloak on.
Once prayed to God to kill Peter Parker, but now every day I pray for him to save him. So I don't want those scrolls.
Oh, here we go.
It feels so super retroactive.
It's so tacked on.
What is Fury doing in space? Why is he just like?
Even that's a joke. Even when we get to that scene, he's like, "Who's got my shoes?"
He's just sitting around pretending like he's on a beach when he could just go to a beach. I don't understand. And he needs the Skrulls. This Talos almost said the Telosians. That's a Star Trek thing. We need the Skrulls to pretend to be him because he's too lazy to do it himself. Like, what is happening?
I have no idea. I don't like the Spider-Man movies being just straight up comedies.
Yeah, and I didn't feel like Homecoming went quite to that place.
No, I feel like that has more heart to it. But this one, I don't know. There's just some Ragnarok vibes in this where it's like we don't have to. It's just a comedy, so lighten up. But like I want it to be in line with the last movie at least, even if it's not with the rest of the series.
But also, I'm sick of Captain Marvel encroaching on everything when that was a prequel, a thing that happened 25 years ago, and now suddenly it's informing everything. Like, I'm hoping when we ultimately find out why he's, on one of their spaceships and what exactly is going on, that it will make more sense than I'm afraid that it will. That none of that stuff came up until now. Oh, my disc is just playing deleted scenes now.
Oh no, this is the short film. This is the to-do list thing
that
I was telling you about. So this was cut out. People were mad that this wasn't in the movie. It shows him like getting ready for the trip, and it shows him have an action scene in the Infinity War suit.
Okay.
So I guess you want to watch this?
I mean, it's on now. Like, people can't sync with us unless their disc also just went to it.
Well, my digital copy also just started playing immediately.
I'll look at it while we're here. How many more super chats do we have?
A few.
It's not giving me subtitles though, so it's hard to.
Yeah, this is cool that he gets to see his little convenience store friend again.
Oh yeah.
It's not a great scene though, so I see why they cut it.
Sure. Yeah, why does he have those? Well, look, it could have come from his parents.
See, there's the He-Man.
We don't know anything about them.
No, you do, because they're his, because he in a second he's like not going to give one up. He's like, okay, I can't give up this one. It's too special.
Maybe it's special because his dad played with him. Look, I can make it work, okay?
I mean, Now you sound like the people who.
I'm
Now
joking.
you slippery slope. You can make anything work.
No, it's not. None of this is in the movie.
That's true.
So I can say it's what I don't care. It's not in the movie.
So yeah, he uses the spider drone again to like make sure his passport is on there or something. I can't remember what he does. Break the law, pretty much. Oh no, to speed up the process so you can go in a lane. But just because you turned a lane on doesn't mean she's gonna like serve you. She's on lunch.
Yeah, that's weird. Romello, I hope Spider-Man No Way Home and future solo movies in the MCU are serious like the previous Spider-Man movies, especially the Raimi Spider-Man film series and not a comedy. I mean, sometimes those get too silly for my taste as well, particularly 3.
I mean, in 2, you literally have him walking down the street in like a montage with no raindrops falling, which is pretty much a comedy move.
Yeah, and it never occurred to me that the emo bit in 3 is actually a callback to that.
Yeah.
But it is.
Yeah, I've never thought about someone calling the Raimi movies as serious superhero movies. They're pretty goofy.
I mean, they comparatively felt that way at the time. That's one of the ways in which they don't hold up as well.
See, he says you're the next Iron Man now. What are they getting?
But I mean,
Just
at
'cause he has
least
a
those are
mask?
consistently, more like heightened and comedic from the beginning. And like,
Yeah, but I have there's tonal issues with those because like the ending of 1 with Goblin and then that doctor scene in 2, like that's so like it's a horror movie for 10 minutes and
well,
then
yeah,
it's back to a comedy.
I can't deal with that.
All right, let's get super
That
chats.
scene doesn't work for me. How many more super chats do we have? Because we need to end off the
two,
show here. We're now done with both the movie and the extra scene. So
We have 9, but some of them are pretty short. I don't know if they're questions or not. So, John Kelling, I just want to say Mysterio's costume is just chef's kiss perfect.
it's really good.
Both the actual suit and his mocap suit, just perfect. Totally agree. They look awesome.
Oh, I feel like I saw that comment like 3 hours ago. So
Yeah, it's been a while.
there must be quite a few.
John Kelling, another $5 super chat. Shooting the water like a fire hose via the canal and using the pyrotechnics to help cover up the bullets. I'd also buy the drones blowing darts and wind.
Okay.
But who would be using the fire hoses? There's no people there. He doesn't have like actors running around. I don't know.
Maybe he does. We don't know about it. But I mean, to be fair, he has all those people in the city because they're all there with him at the bar. So he could have had some people planted behind holograms, but this is all conjecture. I mean, I have no idea how he did it.
Good, yeah.
And you could say it's not important how he did it, except we don't leave it very ambiguous because everything else he does, they make it seem like it's just, he's got drones. And it seems like that's supposed to explain everything. I'm starting to agree more with you about the idea that you could just play it ambiguous and be like, the holograms hide everything. So he was able to do it somehow. Like, I don't know, maybe that would play more realistic. I would have to see that version.
Yeah. Jedi Knight, this movie made WandaVision's twist less effective?
What about this movie?
I don't know. Jedi Knight, you might have to clarify.
I'm not sure what about this movie would have affected the end of that, especially because we had it first. So you're saying that if this movie hadn't happened, somehow that's a... Is it... Are you talking about because of the villain in that? Or are you saying that it's like a double beat, the way we pretended like Mysterio was a hero and that Agatha wasn't evil? Is that what we're talking about? Maybe that's what we're talking about.
Maybe so.
Jedi Knight, because they did it before. Did what before? I'm not sure what we're talking about.
John Kelling also wish Tinkerer could have been on Team Mysterio. That would have been cool.
Yeah, good call.
Is he in prison?
I'm not sure.
I think he's in prison after Homecoming, but you could have got him somehow.
Oh, the multiverse fake out. I don't think, though, that it was a fake out in WandaVision. I thought we just didn't do anything with it yet. Where it's like with the Darkhold and everything, if you knew what you were looking at, that was supposed to be a setup for eventual multiverse stuff, but we just didn't actually deal with it in that show. I'm not sure if that was a fake out.
Yeah, I think you might be talking about the Quicksilver thing.
Oh, the Quicksilver thing. But that's not a I thought you were talking about an ending twist. That's not really an ending twist, but...
Yeah. Spedibus Q, my favorite little thing, they didn't just have a small wink-wink reference to Mysterio's supervillain name, but had him fully embrace it. Yeah, we talked about that. That was really cool.
That's great. And I was fine with the way he got his name. I also... The only thing I don't like about all that, and I've said this before, is I docked this immediately a 0.5 for never having Peter say fishbowl head. I can't have a Mysterio thing and nobody ever says fishbowl head. That's not cool. And somebody said earlier that Peter in this movie is a lot less quippy. We're kind of back to that from the older movies where he just doesn't do a lot of that.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. Bugman Joe's, why wasn't the spider sense working again? Bad writing? Why does Spider-Man need to develop spider sense? So yeah, we talked about that one. I
noticed earlier, yeah. Yeah, I don't disagree with you.
Philip Kelton, Spider-Man doesn't need a mentor. Oh, so he's totally. Well, I mean, yeah, obviously, but we were just saying if we has to have one, Cap would be a cool. They should do that in What If.
I don't know. I'm not against it if you're not gonna do Uncle Ben on screen. I was okay with the idea that Tony Stark is sort of that. I mean, I wish we knew what led him to be Spider-Man in the first place, and you could say obviously it has to be Uncle Ben. There was a thing. He had luggage with the initials in this, sure, but we haven't done it. We haven't talked about it. Like, just because every other Spider-Man thing has had that doesn't mean that I know what exactly is going on, or if it did happen, how it happened, and what exactly Peter took from it. But I don't know that. But I don't want to be married to it forever.
Yeah. Philip Kelton says the spider sense is an instinct.
Yeah, that's what you were suggesting earlier.
TH1, $2 in the Watch Party Discord. Oh, is that what you talked about? Far From Home? Did you guys watch Far From Home in there?
Yeah, we did, but I really thought that we did something on camera. But that might be what I was thinking about. I don't know. Anyway.
And then last one from Philip Kelton. I just want Into the Spider-Man 2 and Venom 2. I think he means Into the Spider-Verse 2. Yeah. And then John Kelling is saying I missed one.
Yeah, I mean, like we've talked about this ad nauseum, but like the Spider-Verse thing, I just wish that we weren't immediately going into another Spider-Verse sequel. And the Venom thing is going to be fascinating because of the director they picked, and the title sounds as goofy as the previous movie, but who knows what it'll be. So yeah.
And then actually,
but I can't say that I'm more excited about that stuff necessarily than I am for more of this franchise, because like. I don't hate, obviously I don't hate this movie. Like, I'm more down on it than I was before because I didn't have a great viewing with it this time. And us watching it here, I felt about the same way. But, like, it's not even fair to say, like, it's not it's more than not unsalvageable. I mean, like, it's fine. We just didn't do enough here. And then I'm just not sure where they're going with that ending. Because, I certainly didn't want him to be outed right away.
Yeah. And then Mr. Bato says, DJ, can you get in on Shang-Chi as a henchman? So everybody just wants me to be a henchman in other future movies. Yeah. No, Shang-Chi is already shot. They already released the trailer.
Well, that was the comment from earlier. We already talked about that. That was the comment.
Well, someone also said, could you be the second Mysterio?
Oh, that's true. That's true. But we did read the Shang-Chi one too.
Philip Kelton, Spider-Man doesn't need a mentor because you need him to learn the hard way about responsibility.
Well, the assumption is that he already got the initial lesson before Civil War, and he talks about that with Tony in that. And like, there's, I mean, yeah, you can tell the story without that, obviously. I mean, like that's how it was initially done. That I don't think that means that it's necessarily just inherently wrong to give him that. He's gonna need to move away from it at some point. But there's precedent. Ultimate treats Nick Fury that way to some degree as well. Like, it's weird because Tony Stark in Homecoming, it seemed to me, was kind of taking the Ultimate Nick Fury role, sort of, and then in this we have Nick Fury also doing it, but actually not doing it because it's not Nick Fury. He doesn't play as a mentor. So does that do it for us, DJ? Are we caught up?
Yeah, I'm trying to see what John Kelly's talking about. He says there's one. Just. Oh, okay. He says just that drones cause damage to the surrounding areas with bullets, but covered them by faking the impact with the holograms. So it was when he was talking about how the drones could have worked. So yeah, I mean, you can make it work.
Sure. Well, folks, thanks a bunch for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. We're going to go ahead and get going now because we're well after having finished the movie. Yeah, I'm having an interesting relationship with this movie at this point. I was pretty happy with it after first viewing, and I'm starting to have, I don't want to say a Man of Steel thing with this exactly, but like I'm liking it a little bit less each time I see it.
Yeah,
which is a bummer.
I'm nervous. I don't know if we want to talk about. We might do a like a Marvel Mania ending show where we kind of rank them.
We're talking about doing a
talk
ranked
about
list in a live show. Yeah.
I'm nervous about where this is going to end up on my list because I think people are going to like attack me in the chat.
Well, that's okay.
I had a really bad experience with this movie the last time.
Look, folks. DJ is entitled to his opinion, and I'm not, but I'll give it to you anyway. I've been told I'm not in comments. So.
Wow. No, you don't get your opinion, Cap. You serve the people.
Exactly. Well, anyway, thanks again for watching, folks. We're going to go ahead and get going. We will see you again Thursday night at 9 Central for another Captain Logan show. We'll talk to you for an hour there. Lots more fun stuff coming up your way soon on Geekvolution. I'm going to start getting back to some requests. And then Monday, we're going to have a live review of the new Mortal Kombat movie, which comes out this week. So look forward to that as well. DJ, anything else you want to mention that I'm not thinking of before we get going?
Oh, I am good. Thanks for having me on this show. We got one more, man. New Mutants.
Yeah, isn't that nuts?
2 weeks, May 4th.
It's gonna be sad.
People are gonna be mad that we're not doing a Star Wars thing.
I was gonna say, really, it landed on May 4th. That's unfortunate. Because we're gonna get a lot of that. It'll just be wall-to-wall comments of "May the 4th be with you." You picked the wrong movie. We picked the wrong movie no matter what day it is.
Yeah, there's no day to watch New Mutants.
Anyway, thanks again for watching, folks. We'll see you next time. I was Captain